Today we welcome Scottish businessmen Mark Corcoran and Stephen Robb, who are the founders and directors of Be Inspired Clothing. Welcome to the What Drives You podcast, hosted here at Motorvation Car Club. Welcome, gents.
Thanks for having us. Thanks much.
As far as I'm concerned, you two are probably the textbook definitions of entrepreneurs. And if it's okay with you two, I'd probably like to lean heavily into the business journey. For starters, was Be Inspired born out of passion or necessity?
We say a bit of both on it.
Yeah, we'd sort of been, for a while, we'd been discussing what we were going to do after football. Stephen had played for Dundee United and then moved to St Mirren and sort of replaced me at St Mirren actually. I'd signed a contract. I know, I'd signed a pre-contract with an old team of mine, Hamilton, and then Robb would come in. So we never actually played together, but we had a mutual friend at St Mirren called Andy Dorman.
Yeah, we were kind of in the same circle, weren't we? And then a group of the lads that kind of all stuck together.
And then we'd all just become really good pals, and we were all sort of having, like, at that point we were sort of discussing what we were going to do after football. Like, could we come up with a business? We talked about having like a restaurant called Ricodo, like Robbo, Corcoran and Dorman. We talked about a few other things like online stuff, but nothing had ever really happened at that point. We were just like floating about ideas. Like, see, in football, it's quite difficult because as you sort of live year to year or 2 years or three, whatever your contract to contract, and then as you're coming out the contract, at the end of it, you're thinking a little bit more about what you should be doing than the start of it.
Especially if you maybe been injured for a season or like a majority of like the season, you're thinking, I'm not going to get a contract. What am I going to do next? Who's going to want me? That does become like a bit of a mentality thing as well. Just like, it is tough.
So at that point we were thinking about it, but nothing really ever happened. And then Robb left St Mirren and went away to Thailand, didn't you? So he played football in Thailand for like 3 years, but while he was over there, me and him stayed in touch because he'd end up living with me before he left. And I was like, how are you getting on over there? Is there any scouts? So what another left winger?
So you took his job and then you moved in with him?
I moved out. I took him under my wing and that.
You weren't irreplaceable at that point anyway. He was needing a roof over his head.
Exactly.
I needed a tour guide in Glasgow. I lived in Dundee all my days, so I needed somebody in Glasgow to show me the ropes. So.
And you were the man?
Yeah, it was Mr. Glasgow actually.
Probably the wrong man for his football career, if I'm being honest. But I showed him carbon on a Saturday and a Tuesday, which was quite good. Okay. So when he was over there, I was like, what can we sort of do? What is there anything over there we can sell and we can buy? And then obviously Robb will tell you more about that story, going about like the sort of the markets and stuff like that. And we end up sort of stumbling across clothes really, and we were both sort of passionate about our gear. Like, people would probably say I had horrendous gear, but it was a little bit different. I was a bit risky with it. So and then it just sort of stumbled from there. And then we were into clothes and we were obviously selling them online. And like I say, it just sort of really snowballed from there. So yeah, like Stephen says, it was probably a bit necessity because when you have football, we didn't really have anything else after that. But the passion behind it probably prolonged it as a sort of business. If we weren't passionate about it,
it was almost like a hobby because we'd still had like our football like bubbling away, and then we ended up working both. When I came back from Thailand, once the business had been set up, I moved back in with Mark, and there was like we were both working in recruitment along with playing part-time football. I was at Brechin and you were at Stranraer, and Be Inspired was like our hobby, like 3 nights a week and a Sunday, for example, and just kind of fit it in amongst our lifestyle, which quite quickly was like, I wish this could actually like become a lifestyle more than just a hobby.
I remember we were walking out of town. Like, we both worked in recruitment. And
full suits walking out of town.
Full suits walking from the Gorbals into is it West Regent Street? Yeah. And we'd just be talking about work. We'd just be talking about the business. Sorry, not work.
So you were quite entrepreneurial then, other than a lot of people in that position wouldn't be maybe thinking about starting businesses and stuff like that. You would just be consumed by.
It didn't feel like at the time. It probably didn't feel like a business. It felt like a hobby because people. Yeah. Social media was just kind of kicking off. Instagram and like obviously Facebook was about, and it was like Twitter was another big thing at the time. So we were just constantly putting out like content and ideas and stuff like that, and it was just kind of getting the feedback off people. Were like, look at all these people like that are messaging us about the product, and
We gave it to boys that were better at football than us. Like it was probably like everyone talks about influencer marketing now, but at that point it didn't really exist. But we were just like, oh, we've started this brand, do you want to wear it? So we'd send it to like, I think the early people was like Scott Brown, Charlie Mulgrew, Anthony Stokes, and James McCarthy had played with Hamilton. He'd moved down to like, I think it was Everton, and then there was like Stephen Naismith, who was at Everton as well. So they were wearing it. So it was all like Scottish boys were like sort of putting on their like Facebook at that point. It was, I don't even think it was Instagram.
You were finding orders coming through like on the Shopify of like Andy Robertson's ordering, like, you know, like maybe the younger guys at that time in Scotland were like placing orders like off the back of maybe seeing Scott Brown wearing a t-shirt or something. So
like was it strategy to get people into it, or was it just a fluke that you just kind of...
It was probably a bit of like, if we can get somebody like them into it and then they put it on like their Facebook or whatever and people see it, it looks good for the brand. But we probably weren't thinking like if we put that on somebody we're going to get loads of sales or that. But like it did sort of happen organically, and then we're like, right, we need to do that more.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember Anthony Stokes, who played for Celtic and Hibs, like he had a hoodie on one night, and I think we sold off the back. This is probably going maybe like 10 months in.
And you were still part-time at that point? Or
yeah, I'm still playing at that time.
I'm still well, I was quite badly injured, so I was going on a Saturday, but I wasn't really playing.
So what ages did you start being inspired? How old were you?
Early 30s.
32 maybe? Yeah, I finished full time when I was 32.
Yeah, early 30s I'd say.
Okay. Yeah. And did you have any like mentors or advisors or people kind of even in the family that were entrepreneurs that were giving you a little bit of advice and
I've always been a bit different to be fair. I was always interested in like buying and selling and stuff like that. If there was I think I said before, if I could get a Mars bar for 50p, I'd try and sell it for £1. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've always had that kind of in my locker a wee bit. So I was always interested in stuff like that as well, like eBay and that. And growing up, I was always, when eBay came out, I was like, what's this? This is amazing. Like, how can you just try to sell some of my mum's old stuff in the kitchen and all? I put, oh, Mum, do you need that? No, I put it on eBay. I was
cleaning out the shed and stuff like
much,
that.
I wasn't really that way inclined. I was more probably creative, like artistic and stuff like that. So I'd probably done like messed about with designs here and there, but not. I wasn't really probably entrepreneurial that way, as in like, can I get this and sell it for this? I was more probably the creative side of it.
So it sounds like I'm safe saying that you probably didn't have that much business experience or marketing experience.
Not at all.
Fashion design or retail knowledge, any of that?
No, not really, mate. Not really.
Worked in a wee shop and
that
was only like experience actually like convenience store.
I worked in Tesco's meat counter. I don't think that
was kind of the only job I'd had outside of football.
Right. So no business, no marketing, no retail, no mentors.
Football than
he went through like the youth development. I'd sort of worked in Scottish Widows, and then I'd had some horrible jobs. I was at university for a bit as well, doing marine biology, which I don't know how I ended up doing that. And then I'd sort of played part-time for a few junior teams, and then Hamilton part-time, and then went full-time with something when I was 24. So yeah, I'd had jobs and that, but nothing like...
Nothing like a business?
Nothing like that.
So at the time you were transferring into full-time occupation and to be inspired, was there any people that were like naysayers or saying, what are you used to doing here?
Nobody really said anything, but we were in a bit of a bubble, weren't we?
Yeah, I don't think people really understood what we were doing at the time.
Okay.
So I think if we'd said, like, because social media was so, like, it was probably in, like, infant stage, it was like, people, I don't think online shopping was such a big thing. I think going to stores was still massive, so our stuff wasn't in stores, so it wasn't really like, oh, you're not in the shop, so you've not got a business.
Yeah.
It's like they never really probably understood what we were doing.
Okay. I think as well, if we told people, right, we're giving up our jobs to start this, they would have been a bit like,
my mum was like, what? I think my mum at the time was like, if you just come back from Thailand, you've only had this job for like 3 months.
Yeah, what are you
like,
doing?
What are you doing? It's like, how are you going to pay your bills and stuff? It's
but like
I'm not stupid.
We were probably,
we
were probably in a bit of a bubble though, weren't we? Like obviously we lived together at that point. Rob would come back for Thailand, and I'd had a flatmate, so he was sleeping on my floor at that point. And we had those like recruitment jobs, but we were probably just like living together. We were sort of living and breathing the brand a wee bit, and we weren't really telling anyone what we were doing. We were just sort of doing it, so there wasn't really anyone to tell us. We probably doubted ourselves a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, is this actually going to happen? Or should we be doing this? But like, we just sort of rolled with it, and we hated what we were doing. So at that
helped.
point, I didn't have
that
kids,
was
so that he had the wee one, but there was probably like
Owen at the time was probably like what 6-year-old. What's his? Being
probably
6.
about that.
Right.
So he's been there for the full thing, from seeing us start from nothing to then now having these shops. So he's working in the Dundee shop. So he's like even last night on FaceTime, I was just making sure he was locking up all right, and he's like, it's fine. He's totally comfortable with what he's doing and stuff like that, which is good.
But like you said, we were in that little bubble of like what we were doing, and we were fully focused on it. So yeah, we probably didn't really have anyone telling us don't do that.
We probably
wouldn't have listened either. For me, I didn't really have any risk either. Like I'd come out of football. I'd already probably been quite close to having to like give up my flat when I'd gone from full time to part time, and then I didn't have a contract, I didn't have a job, didn't really have anything, and then luckily I got that recruitment job, which I didn't enjoy. So I was like, well, I've not really got anything to lose here.
That was one of the chats we probably had. It was like, well, see if it doesn't work, we'll just go back to working again.
Yeah.
And it was like a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Getting what we were getting, and it was like you probably wasn't much more.
I think the gamble was probably like outweighing like what we could have been stuck with.
Like we'd literally invested like 600 quid.
So that was going to be my next question. Yeah, coming obviously from football to working, like what did it actually take to get the business off the ground with regards to capital?
I think, well, we were fortunate that like I'd made friends with a few manufacturers and stuff like that. Just like my days off in Bangkok, I was I had a wee moped that I was driving about the city on, which is ludicrous for a footballer to be driving a moped in Bangkok anyway. But my days off, and he'd be at me going, there must be someone there you can get there, you can send back to me, I'll sell it to the boys. And at that time,
sell on eBay or anything.
Yeah, at that time he was at Ross County, and I was like, I was sending some photos back, like, I've got these t-shirts on the streets, like, they're good quality, they're decent t-shirts, they're probably suited to
they were just like mad designs, weren't they? They're like basketballers were like a basketball that had tattoos and it was like Marilyn Monroe's face on it or something. Just like mad stuff.
Proper graphic design, Photoshop.
But the quality was there.
Yeah, the quality was there. It was
excellent.
good. So then I started, how do I know?
So did you know anybody else that was like any of your friend circle or by extension that was hustling on the side doing stuff with clothing?
Nah,
Nobody.
Nah, nobody. Mind you, if it had been someone like, because they had like in Bangkok, there was like the Beats headphones and stuff like that. Like we could have bought them and sent them.
I think the fact we were selling these, like I say, he started sending them back, and they were like costing us a few quid in Thailand, and we're selling back and we're selling them for like 30 quid on eBay. Do you know what I mean? And we were selling quite a lot, so that probably gave us the confidence to keep going. It was just like we found something that was like working, and then like he was saying that he made friends with them, and they're like, you should start your own brand. And at first we were like, oh, I don't know, like seems quite like not like unattainable to have your own brand. So we're like going from like making these.
People look at our brand even now, they're like, how do you even do that?
Yeah.
Like, how's that even possible? What you're doing? It's like, I'd like to do that, but so how do I do it? And it's like they're asking us, like
there's a cheat sheet.
Yeah, like there's a cheat code. There's not an easy way to do what we do. It's like it's literally patience, and it's been like taking like 10-11 years to do what we're doing.
I don't know if it's like our mindset. It's like we probably look at something like, if somebody's doing it, then why can't we do it? Like that we have that like philosophy with everything that like comes across in the business. It's like we see somebody else doing something, like, well, why can't we do that?
Yeah, I think we discussed even going back like a couple of years, like with TikTok, and people even in the business and said, nah, TikTok's not for us. It'll no work for brands. It doesn't work for us. And we're like, I'm telling you, we'll get that working. Guarantee you. We just need to come up with something that works, and it'll work for us.
Because it works for like other people on it. Do you know what I mean? Other people are getting views and blowing up, so why can't we do it?
Yeah, you just need to adapt and go with the platform.
I find it interesting when you're mentioning things like TikTok that if people have got an opinion that it might not work for you and stuff, that you've got the confidence to back yourself. Is there any parallels from your previous careers as footballers? Do you think you've learned them tools, or?
I think probably that people told me all the time. I wasn't like because of my route into football. Like I remember being like 16, 17 maybe, and boys were like, "You're good, but you're not going to make it. If you were going to make it, you'd make it by now." And I was like, maybe it was stupidity, but I just didn't have that mindset. I was just like, I'll still make it. Do you know what I mean? I was just felt as though, and we often joke about it and laugh like, oh, I only made it at football because I hung around long enough. Everyone else drifted away, like got drunk or like were doing whatever they're doing, but I was still there. And I don't know if that's just like our mentality. Is like
we've got pretty similar mentality like that. Like
I don't know what that. I never say die. Like I don't really feel like that, but it is like I won't give up on anything. You know what I mean? Ever.
It's like, what else are you gonna do? You chuck it. You'll just regret chucking it. Do you know what I mean? Like even before I went full time with football at 17, like I was told, like, you're too small to be a footballer. Footballers are big and you'll not make it as a footballer. I'm like, bet you will. It's like, and that was like my mentality was to do that.
And I don't think I like see how you're talking about the career helping you. I don't think we're alone in that. Like I don't think anyone that makes it as a footballer doesn't have that attitude. Because like along the way, everyone at some point as a footballer, unless you're probably Messi and Ronaldo, let's be honest, but like everyone else gets told at some point, nah, sorry son, you're not good enough. Do you know what I mean? And
in any walk of life, in any career.
Yeah, well, like I'm just talking about from football point of view. Do
you
you know what I mean? Like look at boys like Harry Kane, right? You weren't good enough to play for Arsenal, but then you got to talk and look how good he is now. Like every single footballer at some point.
We say that about the brand as well. Not everybody's going to like the brand.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, but it's like, but there's a cult and a following and a group of people that are like, I love your brand, and I'm like,
and my mentality is I'm going to try and convince you. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, or you might not like it, but I'm going to try and it might not ever work.
Wear your brand well. We'll see.
Yeah,
and you know, it's like we've had people in the past couple of years who are maybe put us in the same boat as some other brands. Are like, we've been through like Be Inspired type of brands in certain stores like JD Sports or other big like chain stores across the country. It's like, we've got an intensive range of brands. We didn't need somewhere like ours. So I was like, okay, that's fine.
We'll see.
So you're using that as a bit of fuel to.
We'll see.
So what did the very early days of Be Inspired look like for you two?
Carnage.
That was brilliant, to be fair.
We talk about it. It was a good laugh. We were just in my flat. So I had a flat in the Gorbals in Glasgow. It was the new Gorbals, the nicer bit. The posher bit of the Gorbals, if there is one. And it was like a sort of one bedroom with like a mezzanine, like second bedroom above the living room.
Did you need to build that for Rob?
No. I just thankfully had that for me. But
it was there.
It had a low roof, so we managed to
sorry, used to share it with his dog. His dog used to come out and jump on the bed and just be hair all over the place.
So we used to that was like a stock room. So he used to just basically sleep in.
Basically, I had the bed. To be fair, I did have a double bed, which was a start. The double bed, and then there was literally like a bit of space for my stuff, and then it was just like t-shirts, and then there was tracksuits, and then there was like pigeonholes in the corner with the just like more product in the corner. And I
remember like my missus started seeing my missus like just after we'd started Being Inspired, and she'd moved herself in pretty quickly, but like she would like tidying it and that. She'd go to work and then she'd come back and there'd be like big boxes of stuff, and she used to go mental. She'd be like, "Oh, I've just tidied this," and there's like stuff everywhere.
We'd be getting deliveries in from DHL. These were probably the early stage when we were actually starting to risk everything we had.
Yeah.
So like we're literally going, right, we've sold those like 200 t-shirts. We're going to buy 500 t-shirts now.
Just keep spinning it.
The 500 t-shirts would come in, like, so then you probably go like maybe a week or two with hardly any sales, and you're like, and I'd be messaging the supplier, Matt. I'd be like, Matt, when's that stuff coming? He's like, yeah, I'm just packing it. We're packing it. Obviously, this was getting made in Thailand.
Hurry up, guys. Even now it's the same, to be fair.
It's still exactly the same. And then we'd ordered with this new supplier that, like, I don't even know why. I think it was because it was the only guy in Thailand that was making like fleece jumpers, so it was like fleece jumpers.
Right, they don't really need them in Thailand.
I'm not joking, isn't it? And they had these big like candy skull prints on the front of them, and they came in and they were fucked.
The shoulder was like, it was like a bird's off the shoulder jumper.
The shoulder was like, the neck was like this wide, and he put them on, and it was just coming.
How long did they take to come?
6 to 8 weeks, and then we'd spent like a good 50% of the money because like you say, we started with 600.
Like all self-funded.
Self-funded. So we're like, oh no, these. And then we had another delivery coming that afternoon of like t-shirts, and we're like, see if they come in there. Fuck, that's done. The business is done. And they came in, and we were like, oh no, opened them, and they were like, yes, we're still in business. Jumping about the living room, like, we're still going. We've still.
The neighbours will be thinking, what's going on next door?
At the time, Amy was working in an office, and she came back, and I think the three of us were jumping about in the living room.
I had the same t-shirt on.
She's thinking, well have had. I'm going to be out on the street if this was the work either. So it was like, I always remember a photo of us, the three of us, with the pug.
The same T-shirt on, didn't we?
Brilliant.
So we're still in the game, man. We're still in the game.
So you sailed pretty close to the wind there, but managed to get away with it.
We're probably so close to the wind for a good long time.
It's just, I think when you've got no investment, like, and to scale, like, you're almost chasing your tail. Like, we need more stock. And even now, like, we've got products now where, like, we didn't have enough stock. We've not got enough product. Like, and then
it's like see if a winner comes in, you can, like, even like 1,000, it can sell out in like 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And then you're waiting another like 6 to 8 to 10 weeks to get that back. Do you know what I mean? So you're just like, it's just try to be patient, which I've not got in the best of times. It's quite difficult.
I think of the UK. I don't know if you guys think that it maybe doesn't fly the flag for like retail manufacturing across the world, does it?
No, well, that's something we really. I wanted to do like a sustainable range and make it in the UK, but it just wasn't feasible.
Yeah.
Like, one, the quality wasn't good enough, so the quality wasn't anywhere near the level of like Turkey and China where we manufacture now, and two, the price was just ridiculous for what they were asking for.
If you were asking a customer to pay, let's say 30-40% more than what we were charging at the moment for less quality, but it's sustainable and it's made in the UK. People didn't care enough for.
And it was a big thing I wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? I wanted it to be like sustainable, and I wanted it to be made in the UK because I think there are two really good selling points, but it just unfortunately just wasn't feasible.
I think it's hard for any business owner, whether it's retail or whatever, to be truly committed to that mantra, because every which way you turn, it feels like the walls are constantly closing in from a tax perspective, and there just isn't that relief and that incentivisation for businesses to be pushing that boundary, is it?
If you want, obviously, at the end of the day, like Stephen says, because we're all self-funded, it's not like we've got here's a pot, we can afford to take a gamble on this. Everything needs to be profitable and we need to be able to sell through it. And if you're charging too much money
as well, like by having to be like self-funded, because you have to be really careful with what.
It'd be stunning your growth as well, though, Stephen, if like you're having to ship things from overseas, and just literally that time it's taking to ship is potential lost revenue.
You obviously look at like the big hitters down to like a Boohoo that are making in Leicester. There's been a lot of like stuff said about that, and obviously like you need to do it ethically. It's like where it's like done properly. But they're probably making restock in 2 or 3 weeks.
I think they say like
if we could achieve that, then our business could grow really quickly. But it's just not possible to do that or to do it right.
That must be frustrating for you guys.
It is. Like, it's really frustrating. Like I say, I'm not a very patient person at the best of times, but like having to wait for stuff's horrible.
A lot easier business if you could have those winning products on your door 2 weeks later.
Like you say, Boohoo and that are like a massive company. Do you know what I mean? They've got so much money behind them, obviously through their success. But they could probably own factories and like, I think somebody was saying like there's something maybe seen on a catwalk and then they've got the Boohoo and the Boohoo version like a week later. Do you know what I mean? If you could have stuff like that, no wonder their businesses obviously they're doing well. So
early days, what were the types of things that you had to get out of your comfort zones when you were setting up Be Inspired?
I don't know.
It'd probably been later on than more the early days, because
everything was like friends and family, and it was just a good like it was like the early days were really good because it was like.
So you just embrace it.
Yeah,
it was amazing. It was class.
Even like 3-4 years in, like I had guys that I knew from Dundee, maybe weren't friends, but in like friends circle, it's like, so what are you doing yourself? I was like, I've got to Be Inspired, and they're like, what do you mean? Like, is that your job? I'm like, yeah, that's what I do, and that. What? But you're just selling a few T-shirts here. How can that be your job? It's like, no, we're doing like 400 orders a day out of like this wee office in
warehouse
middle of Glasgow. Do you know what I mean? It's like.
But was it probably like the hardest thing was probably like being a manager, like managing people. Do you know what I mean? Like, because we're probably not. We're quite
used to being managed.
And like we're. So in the early days it was all right because we just was like, well, my missus came in and then one of his best pals for school came in and a boy for Thailand came over and started working for us because his mate Mike wasn't getting paid.
He was playing out in Thailand against me, not in the same team, but he was like a bit of a superstar in Thailand. He was the first British player to go over and play there and moved to transfer for money. So the ties were like totally latched on him, and he embraced the country, he spoke the language, everything. So me and him become quite really close over there, and got to the stage where he was getting towards the end of his career, and he's like, what am I going to do next? Like, and he said, oh, mate, I'm going to come back home, any chance of a job. So
I don't think he wasn't getting paid, was he? And then he was like struggling.
His wife ended up coming back and working in the business.
Nice. So they came and worked for us for a few years as well.
And he's now back out there. He's now back out in Thailand. He's a bit of a YouTube celeb.
Thai YouTube celeb.
Thai YouTube celeb.
Yeah, he is. I know, so.
And you're a bit of a TikTok celeb.
Well, something like that. Yeah. Well, that's probably where
circles you move in.
That's probably where I've had to come out of my comfort zone, is doing that stuff. If anybody, even I was out with my mate last weekend, and he's like, mate, I can't believe you do that. That is no you. Like, that's not what you were like, as when you were younger.
Listen, I think it's so good. Like, genuinely, and I don't mean in a disrespectful way, but it's like the cringe TV. Because I watch you walking up to people, and I'm just waiting to break breath because I couldn't do that.
Yeah. That's the hardest part. I've tried it a few times, and that's once you've got people into a conversation, it's fine. It's like going up to people in the street and actually approaching.
You can almost tell who's up for it and who's not by in the street. See, there's just like older audience, like you go up and he's like, mate, he's miserable. He's not.
Get that camera.
Get that away from me. Like, do you know, like.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy. It's like, oh no, I'm too cool for that. I'm not going to go on there.
Yeah.
And then you get a bunch of 19-year-old lads who are out with their mates away to the pub, and they're like, "Whoa," and you're like, yep, and you come, they're perfect for this. You know what I mean?
Are you getting a bit of notoriety then? Are you getting people tapping you on the shoulder in Tesco's going?
Remember you saying you went to the Dundee game with your boy, and people were asking for photos with you because they seen you on TikTok.
There was
not because of his football career and that.
My young lad supports Dundee, and we went. I think it was a pre-season game. It was pre-season game against Airdrie, and as we were walking out the stadium, there's two lads come running up. He says, "You're that guy that does that TikTok videos, isn't you? I
love your cargos."
I swear, man, Owen, you could just see Owen's face. He's just like, oh my god. He's like a 16-year-old, and he's like, my dad's a minter. So then it was the boy went like that. He said to Owen, he went, here, I'm going to take a photo of me and your dad. It's the same age. So he's the same age. So then, funny story, a couple of weeks ago, my young lads played up at Montrose in the youth team at Montrose, and we were away playing Airdrie, and the two lads who were he says, Dad, you're not going to believe this. Remember the two guys because they said when we were chatting to them, I'll play for Airdrie, under 16s or whatever. He says, Dad, the two guys that asked for the same place. He says they were playing. I was playing against them for Airdrie. So I says, did you go and say anything? He says, nah. That's right. He says, I recognise them for that. That was class. So
the growth of being inspired over the early days of the business, like what did the first kind of 3 years look like?
The growth was mass. Like the first year was probably, it didn't go mad or anything. But the first year we just sort of turned over, and it was quite good. Yeah, finding our feet. What was working?
Even trying to set up a proper website at the time, because like again, online wasn't really a massive thing.
No, we set up the website ourselves. We set up on a big cartel to start with, but that wasn't great. And then we set up on like Shopify, but we sort of set that up ourselves with the help of some guy who ended up sort of came in and out the business. And then the second year, we'd done a lot with the influencers, footballers that were sort of wearing the stuff. And then we met a guy called Andrew, who's still with us actually. He's a big part of the business. And he was like, he was sort of managing websites for other people, but he was like really tech savvy. So he's like, could code, and he knew everything about computers,
never been
like
to uni,
IT and that.
And his mindset at the time was probably like very similar to ours. He's like, nah, I can do that.
If you tell me, valuable.
It's like if you tell me, I'll go and find out how to do it.
But we were always like that. So he'd sort of done a few like sort of social media Facebook ads with another. I think it was a watches he was doing, and we were always like, how is this company? Like, I've just gone on their website and then I'm getting hit with this, and then. Or like this advert's come up here and I've just looked at that. How are they doing that? And he was like, well, I don't know, but I'll go and find out for you. They're listening to you. So he would go away and he would find out how they were doing that, and then he would be like, right, I'm going to do that with Be Inspired. And then to start with, we're like, oh, is it working? And then obviously the more we did it, and it just started snowballing. So it just went through the roof.
We gambled on to be fair, Glasgow City Council was a massive help to us. I think we got something like 70% of our rent paid in the first. If we'd signed like a 3-year lease,
Yeah.
and it was in Bridgeton.
The flats rent paid.
No, not well. No. We ended up having to get.
You still operating it?
Amy had already kicked us out by that time. She's like, this is too much, guys. I know you're
So was this
staying
your
here,
first
Robbo.
premises?
Yeah, so it was in Bridgeton, East End of Glasgow, near Glasgow. It was right next to Glasgow Green.
Okay.
And it was a 900 square foot like office. So like we just basically went and bought IKEA shelving and just put if you came down to the warehouse now, it's basically still the IKEA shelving,
Still
but
the
just
same,
multiplied by
scale.
So was it like an
10.
industrial, or
It
was it
was
like a
like a-
retail?
like
It's called Abercrombie Business Centre. So it was like a big building, and it had like individual sort of like almost like offices.
Right.
And we just took one of them,
Who
and
was
it
the
was like
music
1,000.
band that was right next to us? The Scottish band.
Oh,
I can't remember what they're called now. It's going to annoy me. We'll come back to me.
So were you guys just very committed at that point to just being online?
We'd started online, but we weren't
At that
like
point,
super
early
committed
days,
to it. We were just
right.
we were just starting a brand. We were just thinking.
lot
So if
of
you're
people
taking on a 3-year lease,
Yeah,
could
a
that
lot-
have been a retail? Like, could that have been a customer?
No, it was within like a sort of. It was almost like within a like office, but it wasn't offices.
It was like
just
an office. It was
aye,
like-
just like-
yeah.
If somebody come in and put a hot desk, shared desk in there, like
It had like
it
a big
wasn't-
corridor with loads of doors on it.
It wasn't.
And you
It
just
could
went
be
into each
treated
door.
as
and it was
like a
different
stock
sort of-
room. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But it was. I think over time, maybe at Christmas when we took the ground floor unit in there and had a bit another.
We took
bit
a few units in there, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We ended up with 3 or 4. So.
When you're talking about the management of the business, getting you maybe out your comfort zone a little bit, how did you identify like the first people early days that you needed in the business?
Probably, like I say, Drew came in and we probably got a bit lucky stumbling across him because he was so like-minded to us. And then after that, it was just friends and family. To be honest.
Really?
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much. People we trusted.
we had
and
Cairo,
knew.
one of Amy's best pals.
Cairo's still. She's
came
our
in,
social media manager now. She's the other girl you'll maybe see on the TikTok.
Yeah, okay.
The blonde-haired girl.
She's still
Yeah.
with us. She's
And
been with us right from the beginning.
Callum McDonald, his mate for school, came in. He was working on the rigs, hated it. And then he was just sort of coming in when he was off the rigs, and then he was like, just like when it was coming to go back on
Need
the
a
rigs, he was
job.
like, I'm dreading going back. So as we got more successful, we took him in.
You must have been creating a nice culture then.
Yeah, the
within the
culture was
business.
nice.
It was
I
good.
remember,
to be fair. It was good.
This is probably like three years in, maybe 4 years in. 4 years in. We sponsored a pool party in Mallorca, and we took all the staff away for the weekend. So the Friday night after work, we went out on the Thursday.
It was going mental at that point.
At
So
that
we were
point
like
it
that.
was
It was like, was it before? When was it? Must have been just after
2017,
summer.
I think it was.
And we were like, let's just reward them. So we'd gone like the day before on the Thursday, and then we're like, see, when you've packed the last order on the Friday,
There's a flight.
You're all coming out to Naga.
So it
we
was
had a
basically
weekend in Malaga.
It was people in I think the partners were coming out as
Yeah.
well. We just paid for all the flights in the weekend just for
That
the
was
business.
class,
It was
man.
brilliant.
Because it was all our friends working there, it was
Aye.
just like a
It wasn't
just that
even
weekend
didn't
away,
even feel
aye.
like a work trip, didn't it?
No, it was
It was just
class.
kind of just everybody was just got on it all weekend. Monday was a bit,
Those were different
Yeah.
days, I tell you.
yeah. So that was classy.
Looking back at the journey, how long did it take you to firmly establish Be Inspired and also firmly establish it from a financial sense that it was viable?
I'd maybe say when we started introducing the wholesale side of the business, maybe.
It's probably two waves, isn't it? We probably had one wave, and now we're sort of like Be Inspired. I mean, like this so we established it. We started with these designs, and we went into like Foot Asylum and stuff, but we didn't really have probably when we started the logo, the B33.
it's fairly
we
true,
sort of
yeah.
had like brands. We had these designs, and people were buying into it.
People
and
were
then-
recognising the designs more than the brand.
More than the brand.
So we
they
had
did-
like
okay.
a couple of these early T-shirts where it was the print of the world that was blue with stars through it that faded into white, and then
Like
there was a
skull
paisley pattern
roses,
one, there was
stuff like
skulls
that.
rose, yeah. So then Foot Asylum took it was a big number of T-shirts.
Yeah.
So we had an agent down in Manchester that we were dealing with. We'd go down to Manchester, have a showroom, we use his showroom and show all the latest designs that we'd sampled. And the Foot Asylum buyers would come in and just pick, we'll take, but the numbers were decent. We're like, I'll take 500 of that, 500 of that, 600 of that, and they'd just put it across all their stores. And then it's quite quickly, it was like, we were writing these POs, sending them to the factory, and then you were getting paid from Foot Asylum, getting it to the, I think we were like, we made actually some good profit on that by just the case of, but then
Was that kind of the turning point you thought is kind of solidifying?
Well, we kind of went into
financial-
we go into
and
Foot
then
Asylum, and we'd be sitting alongside all these other brands that had logos, so there'd be a branding on the chest, there'd be a logo there, and they were quite strong, and then we would go in and be like, the t-shirts look nice, but they kind of look a bit lost. They're just like these. So we end up messing about with logos and playing about with stuff, and then we played about with a few things, and we kind of came across this like B33, like, so it was like B obviously, but because it had the number, it was kind of nod to our football background, so it was like an amalgamation of the both. And then we just put it on a few things and it just worked, and then we just put it on more and more things, and it sort of snowballed for there. And then we kind of felt like, well, we've got a logo, we've got more of a brand now, so everyone knew like B33. Nice. Just like it was just everywhere at that point. Yeah, we went to, I think you went to Ibiza one year, and there was like literally everyone cutting about in B33 stuff. But then at the same time, that probably almost got overexposed.
Right.
So then, like, people like River Island were coming up with like R32,
yeah.
and like JD.
The
were
River
coming
Island
up, like,
one was probably the worst.
Yeah, the River Island one was the worst, and then like
R32 was like it was same style writing, swirly writing.
And then like JD came up with like this thing called Defend, and it was like a D and an F, wasn't it? And it was like exactly. And then we had this T-shirt that did really well for it. It was like black, and then it had like a white V in it, and then it had a blue fade, and they just did exactly the same T-shirt with the swirly
had this
logo.
Black T-shirt with the red tartan sleeves, and they called it the Inspired Collection.
Right, it was
like
mental.
You're just like.
Now looking back, though, that must have been at the time you wouldn't think it's a compliment.
It was great, but then they were charging like a tenner for the T-shirt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was just like, and then it just like sort of dragged the brand down a little bit, a wee bit.
By that time, we'd kind of switched manufacturing from Thailand to Turkey, and yeah, it was like the quality went from a basic product like and 5 times better.
Yeah, the quality was unbelievable.
The quality was class, so that people were then attracting like loads of repeat customers, because people were then starting buying the product and going, by the way, this T-shirt's only cost me 25 quid, and it, like I'm wearing this, like, and it's like keeping it shaped.
Even now, we've seen people put pictures up for Instagram. It's like B33 stuff, and it looks mint condition. You're like,
the old school stuff.
Yeah, I've had it for like 5-6 years, and it's like still like a new product.
Well, listen, I'm not really into kissing arse, but like I'm sat here in my Be Inspired stuff, and like for the price point, the T-shirt like is exactly what I'd wear, the fit, and I'm a bit of a bigger guy.
I don't know if this just comes,
but the quality is like genuinely through the roof.
Because we've been
that's predominantly we worked really, really hard on.
Predominantly an online business. Like if our stuff was sitting in we were in End Clothing last week, and we were like, mate, our stuff should be in here.
That would fit in there.
It'd fit in there, no problem. Against some of the brands that we're seeing, mate, look at the state of this T-shirt, mate. Like that's the quality crap. Like why are we not in here? And it's like we should be in there. And
that's what you were talking about, the brand. It's like establishing like a second wave. So we had that first wave of like B33, and it was in all these places, and it did really well, and then people were copying it, and then we were like, right, we need to sort of rebrand to sort of go again. So we've sort of rebranded and try to create like a sort of second wave of Be Inspired. So like through the TikToks and going away, and the if you look at our social medias, they're right on point now. Everything looks really good, and then Robbo and Cairo going out and doing the social media and getting out on the street. I think it's like a new wave of like Be Inspired, sort of ready to go again. So it's like sort of
it's almost like that 2014, 2015 period at the moment. That's what it feels like to us.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of thought and consideration into the naming the business then?
Yeah, we did, but it basically came out of, so back in the day, obviously Herbalife was a big thing.
Right.
And we could not design anything.
Yeah,
we had no skills. We had no skills to design, no skills to build a brand or anything. So we were like, how can we get somebody to help us? So we were like, right, well, what we'll do is we'll start the brand, and then we'll look for designers, like freelance designers, like, because freelancing stuff's a bit more of something you see now. Back then it wasn't really. So we're like, we'll try and get somebody to design designs for us. We'll run a competition. The winner will get 25, like we'll make 100 t-shirts, they'll get 25 free to sell to their friends, and then we'll take 75 and we'll sell it on our website. But we'd done like 4 designs, and they like sold out in a week, so very quickly that idea just got scrapped. So like basically we're going to inspire people to help us design and grow our brand. At the time we were seeing loads of like on their logos were like insects or like animals or whatever it may be, you know, so that was kind of where the bee came from. We just replaced like, and it was like a logo was an actual bee. Like even like the logo on the t-shirt, that the little bee logo was in there. So
that's just kind of not.
So we're trying we called it Be Inspired because we wanted to inspire people to help us grow this brand. But like the initial success of what we did sort of changed our direction of where we were going.
And then did that inspire you to keep going when you're having that initial success? And
I think like I like to think of it now more as inspiring other people to. So like you do this to sort of help people show what they can do. And I like to think of it now as like I want to inspire people, especially coming out of football, because it was a bit of a dark place for me. Not like a bad dark place, but like it was quite a scary thing. I got a bad injury, my career basically sort of stopped, and then I was like, what am I going to do? And there was nobody there to help me. Do you know what I mean?
I had a kid message me on Instagram last week who'd just been released from, I'll not mention the team, but he's like probably like 19. Then he was like, mate, I'm just looking for a job. I need a job. I've just been released. And I'm like, mate, whatever you did, didn't give up what you're doing with football. Like, I don't have any jobs available at the shop right now, but just do not give up what you're doing. Like, didn't just take that rejection from that team to say, oh, like, sorry, there's not going to be a contract for you. Because I think he was genuinely thinking he was going to get a contract.
Yeah.
They've obviously looked at it and went, nah, let's just release him. And there's no like cushion for these guys to go anywhere. Like, they have to just go straight into the real world 9-to-5 jobs from probably being a bit spoilt for a couple of years being a footballer after leaving school. So
one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about like the podcast is trying to pass on that knowledge and experience. And just because you get a no at that point doesn't mean like you still can't navigate your way through to where you want to go, and just be open-minded. But it's one of the things me and my friends talk about is I feel as though we're probably all about the same age group. Culturally, we're probably that last era that like has that emotional bank account, because we've had so many people going, not good enough, do the report again, or no, you need to train harder, or you need to
feel quite thick-skinned a little bit.
Exactly. Whereas I worry sometimes when we're in the teens now, it's a hard place to be, particularly when you've got loads of socials and everyone judging, but they maybe don't have that resilience because
to deal with that. And I think like if our story can just inspire anyone to be like, well, just because, like, say any career, right, you don't have to be stuck in that career. You can go and do something else, and you can make a success of it if you're willing to work hard enough. Do you know what I mean? And that, like, both our football careers are born for that, and obviously this as well. And we're not like you say, you're asking questions. We come from a fashion background. We've not had like any funds behind us, like not had any.
I'm asking these questions
because
people hopefully will listen. You know, put a podcast out, it stands the test of time.
Yeah, totally.
People hopefully be able to see, like, you guys, for all intents and purposes, just two nice, normal guys, and you've chipped your way all the way up to where you are at now. And inherently, what I'm assuming is an extremely tough sector to be operating in.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, and I would say it's even harder now. I would say it's got harder and harder over there. I think we probably got lucky of when we went into the sector. Maybe people before, I would say it always got harder, but I think we got into a sector, men's sort of fashion, and we got into a time when Facebook and Instagram were just sort of taking off, and so like that social media was, and we the
bedroom brand that we created, it was getting replicated probably right across the country in different places. So there was a group of probably about 10 brands that all kind of just had lift off at the same time. The timing was probably perfect.
And I still think you can start a brand. I still think there's other brands out there starting. There's numerous ones, but I think it's probably made, everything needs to be super polished now. We were so unpolished. Like some of the stuff we sold back in the day, I'd be like, how did we, like right at the beginning?
Yeah, sure.
I'm like nowadays that probably wouldn't have worked, but fortunately for us, we saw, like you say, chipped our way, muddled our way through it, just winged it basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've not only survived though, like you're excelling. Why do you think that is? Because for me, like Motorvation is a new car business, right? And we started that 1 year ago.
Right.
And I can't even remember how old, maybe 37 I was. But there was a million reasons not to start the business. You've got the competition, the budgets they've got for putting product in front of people, you know, the buying power they have, the volume, the safety in numbers. We've got none of that. All we've got is just like a bit of passion and
probably like
work
passion,
ethic.
Passion and work ethic goes a long way, I think.
And you guys would be facing the same challenges. Like your competitors, the budgets would be.
I think some people probably get annoyed with it, maybe work, when it's like 11 o'clock at night, we're putting ideas in group chats and that. Like, people must get annoyed at that.
We don't
People
really
who work
switch off ever.
Never
like,
switch off. So
But
it's
like I would say to you is what I said to you, like I was saying earlier. I don't know if it was on camera or not, but like probably why we do what we do is because we're like somebody else has done that before. Like all those two people are talking about, they started somewhere. Do you know what I mean? They started where you started. So it's like if they can do it and get to where they are, why can't I do that? Do you know what I mean? What's stopping me doing that? The only thing that's stopping me is my mentality of not being able to do it. You got to get a little bit of a rub of the green here and there, but if you work hard, if you get that rub of the green as well, do you know what I mean?
Again, though, patience isn't something that's like circulated to this day and age as currency, is it?
No.
Like,
and I think you said, like, we're not the most patient, but we must be.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, people have always said to us, God, it's like, you must be patient to do what you're doing. It's like waiting on that stock, waiting on the stuff coming in, like probably a bit like in routine. Like we do the same like similar sort of photo shoots, and like we've got a routine of everything we do every season. It's like just monotonous, like same. It maybe looks different, but it's consistency's there.
But people look up close with a microscope and don't see the result, but you have to kind of take yourself further and further back over time. But then you have to endure, I would assume, what's been an emotional roller coaster as well.
I would have said so. Probably more for my missus than me. I just, like I say, I probably just do. I don't know. Like I'm not a planner. I'm a doer. So like I just do things. So I don't really think about probably the repercussions of them as much as I should do. But like I'm focused on the task at hand rather than like a big.
That's maybe what's happening with the shops just now. It's like already thinking about 3, 4, 5. Like not actually going, but what if this, like after 3 months and Dundee
you're not thinking like we'll have like 30 staff or whatever. Like it's like we've done that shop, right? Where's the next shop? And then where's the next shop?
If we have 5 stores, there'll be 25 staff that goes with that. But I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about those 5 stores. Are they going to look sick? And everybody's going to want to go there.
Yeah. And I'm thinking we'll deal with that if and when it comes.
We'll worry about that later. Aye. That's kind of the mentality.
Yeah, it is. I don't really worry about stuff. I probably should, but I don't.
Marketing. Let's discuss. How much of your sales is UK based and how much is export?
Nowadays it's a lot more, isn't it?
It's changed. It was around about 2018, we were about 60% UK, 40% rest of the world.
Okay.
And we were spending mad amounts on acquiring new customers and international. Yeah. Probably one of the reasons we kind of pulled back on the wholesale side of the business. We were finding like the Foot Asylum and ASOS and stuff like that. They were kind of, once you sell the product to them, they can do what they want with it. So you were finding that maybe certain things were getting priced down too much. We're still selling at full price on our website and selling it through it no problem, because we were shipping all over the world with this.
We probably didn't have enough stock to satisfy our own customer online by giving it to like the likes of Foot Asylum and ASOS and things.
So
like
were you
that.
selling business to business to them then?
Yeah. So wholesale, we were wholesaling
as well as the business to customer.
Yeah.
But it was still a fraction of what we were doing on the website. So we were probably like to say 90 at the time, maybe 90,
70, 30, maybe.
And was that just so you could? Was that just so you could get in front of the customer easier?
Just because they'd approached us, really.
Really?
And then they'd approached us, and then it sort of, again, like anything, it started snowballing, and probably our online marketing and online presence.
We're seeing a benefit from
and they were seeing a benefit from us doing all that online marketing, and we were seeing a benefit from being in those stores. So it was helping our conversions. So we were probably helping each other quite a lot at that point. At the same time, the international thing was snowballing. We're basically taking what was working in the UK and going, right, can we replicate this in Germany, Ireland, the US, Japan, like
with partners or all?
No, just online. And again, that was a business lesson, because we basically said, right, we're going to blow up internationally. So we'll say, right, the UK is where we make our profit. We'll keep that the way it is, and we'll just offer next day free delivery to everywhere in the world. And it went from like 1 million to 4 million in like a year.
Next day, free delivery.
DHL.
But this was when
everywhere in the world.
That sounds like a logistical nightmare, was it?
It wasn't like a logistical nightmare, but it was
we were able to deliver a parcel with DHL from Glasgow to New York within a day. No problem.
Wow, right, okay.
If they picked up at 4 o'clock, it was getting there the next day.
Japan, for example, would be like 2 to 3 days, but you were into the EU like in one day, like next day delivery with Germany, France,
and it went
Spain.
mental. But what we didn't, as a business, what we didn't take into consideration that a parcel cost us this to get. So we worked on the fact that a parcel costs like this to get it to New York, for example. But what they do is they base the price of the parcel on volumetric weight, and they put it through so it goes through a conveyor belt, and then they blow air into it, and it goes and blows up. So then they charge you like 3 times the amount of
volumetric. It's not done by dead weight. It's done by the volumetric weight of the size of the parcel.
More.
So if you've got a jacket, for example, and you're like, only weighs like.
I'm assuming because it's going by plane.
Yeah.
So you're
taking
up.
They have to take
and it's taking up space on the plane as well.
No, we didn't know that, and it took us a good few years to learn that. To be fair, because we're like, how is it costing so much? Like, where's this cost? And somewhere it wasn't like every jacket was like this much, or every pair of trainers was this much, or it was like some were like
there was
random
no consistency
amounts.
with pricing on international.
Unless you were actually asking somebody that's done retail before.
Yeah.
Like
DHL weren't going to tell you. It was only one person.
Year-end accounts come through, and you've done 4 million quid in turnover, 3-4 million pound extra in turnover. But like your profit's half of where it was the year before. It's like,
that's insane.
How was that happened?
Like,
do you know what I mean?
And then you break it down, and
we didn't have like a finance director. It was just me and Rob all muddling our way through at that point. Do you know what I mean?
From a marketing point of view, it was class because Drew was like, oh man, look at the traction we're getting in Germany and everywhere. This is easy. Your conversion rate's like through the roof here. Website's flying.
You can't really backtrack on a deal that you're putting a lot of marketing behind.
We end up having to. Do you know what I mean? It just wasn't feasible.
So
and then Brexit hit as well.
Brexit was probably for an international, especially the EU for obvious reasons. But Brexit and COVID was just like a massive wow,
they've been the two biggest hurdles.
The biggest things that in the UK alone, there's been so little spoke about how much effect this had on business. And until somebody's man enough to come out in a government and say, this is a shit show, we need to do something about it. Just make a deal, make a free trade deal with the EU. It'd be so easy for people.
Even now, I think it's more customer confidence that's been harmed from our point of view. Everything's probably sort of gone back. Basically, when Brexit and COVID hit, they put a Brexit surcharge on an envelope and they put a COVID surcharge on an envelope. So before we even put that T-shirt in the envelope, it had gone up like £8 to send it. So it was just not feasible to send stuff. And then
you can't pass a £30 T-shirt on a customer and say it's going to cost you £15 to get it there. It'll be and the thing was that next day thing had gone as well. It was
like
literally
3 or 4 days.
It's going to take 3 or 4 days to get it because they had to do customs clearance on it. So anytime it was arriving in Germany, they're like, where's that parcel from? Origin UK. Right, that needs checked. There's all the documents there, and it was all the paperwork needed to, and the couriers were like, oh, so you need to be ready. Make sure you got all your documents. And it was a shit show because they weren't organised either.
We had everything in place, but they didn't.
So there was like a 2-week period where we weren't even sending it out, and we were receiving orders from the EU, and it was like, we can't even send your stuff.
Is it not the EORI number? So there's like a number. There's a number that you needed, right? So like, I think it was FedEx, like it's a 10-digit number, you need this number. And they were like,
that's your HS code.
But there was something like that, right? So then they were like, you need this number. And we were like, right, okay, 10. And it was this FedEx, we didn't really use that much. And then DPD were like, right, you need this number, it's 9 digits. And we're like, are you sure it's 9 digits? Because they're telling us it's 10 digits. No, it's definitely 9, it's definitely 9.
Nobody knew.
And then it came through and it was the 10-digit number. And
it's like anything, It's like when there's something new, it just happens.
I've got a favourite saying, one of my favourite sayings is like, you don't know until you know.
No, exactly.
We have an engineering business as well, and we put product all over the world, right? If you phone me and went, Lee, we're sending product to Mexico or we're sending it to Australia, what do you do with like transport or shipping? I'd be like, oh well, this is what you do. I wouldn't turn around and go, oh by the way, heads up, the parcels are going to swell, so you have to pay 3 times. You'd be thinking, I'm taking great advice there. But it's not great advice because how important is it to meet and discuss with people that have laid the groundworks before you to say
you only know something when you know it.
That's why we keep saying it, and we say that every week. Every week in business, we look at each other, me and my business partner, go, wish I knew that the week before. You don't know until you know.
Even since that time, like kind of like the COVID period, like even now, like with international growth being slow, like the couriers must be slow. Like they must just be laying off people, and the planes that were going to the US 6 years ago must have been full. They must be empty now.
Yeah,
we've got a guy.
The US probably isn't as bad because nothing's really changed with the US. It's like Europe, so. When you used to order
surcharges are still through the roof and all that.
When you used to order something from America, you would get like a tax. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's why people never did it. So when Brexit happened, they got that tax going. If it was over a certain amount, they got a tax they had to pay before they could get their product. Whereas we as a company added a little coefficient onto the price that covered that tax. So what they saw, they paid, and they didn't have to pay anything extra. However, the problem is that not everyone did that, so the customer confidence has gone down because they're like, am I going to get hit with a tax here? Am I going to get my product? And even when we did cover it, like the couriers are asking for them to pay something, and like, I thought you covered that. So there's just like, it was just like
customer service
loads of confusion.
It's just like a customer was coming on your website, where are you based? UK? Nah. And that's literally like they're coming on, and it's like we've just experienced that in the last.
And it might come back with time, but just like that sort of that sort of confusion.
The only way around it would be to basically set up our logistics in, say, the Netherlands or Germany or wherever. But again, that comes without investment. That then takes us to go, right, we need a warehouse, 3PL, and so then we have to then have split the website into multi-sites. That costs money as well. Like.
That cannot be good for the UK economy, that people would have to set up remote offices.
Honestly, it blows my mind, man, honestly.
I'm sure somebody said that like exports out of the UK is like 20% down at least.
I think the EU are as stubborn as we are, because they're as stubborn as like, oh, we've views of leaving us, so we're not going to do a deal unless like. So they should just.
You can kind of understand that in a way as well.
Totally, I get that. Eh?
But they probably need us as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Two-way street. So. These are like the hurdles from not fulfilling the market. You're doing loads of good marketing.
You can see how the mood's changed
You're
from
getting
the start.
Orders, but then fulfilling actually that is becoming more and more difficult. Again, the trials and tribulations. Every week's a school week, isn't it?
But you see how our probably attitude changed between the early days of being inspired to now. It's like talking about it. It's like you're almost like resenting certain stuff. Whereas like in the early days was like so much fun and.
Like, I didn't think there was as many hurdles back in the early days to like, but like you say, there's more come along as you grow and get bigger. And the industry's probably been successful, so they had hurdles in the way.
So there's going to be highs and lows there. How are you guys managing the highs and the lows? And
I think we've talked about this in another podcast, didn't you? I was talking about, I didn't go sort of to play football like senior until I was like 22, so I was a Hamilton at part-time, and then I went full-time at 24. But when I went from junior football to Hamilton, I didn't play for like 6 months, just like getting used to it, and then I didn't really start very well. I was getting a bit of hassle. And I remember we played St Johnstone in a cup, and I came off the bench. I scored a bit of a worldie. I took like 3 or 4 boys on and put it in the bottom corner, buzzing, sort of flying. I think we were winning 2-1. I scored the goal.
You've just cited that story because you're in Perth tonight.
I know, but I know it might not go down too well. But what's going to happen next will go down well. So I 2-1 was buzzing. I was as high as a kite, and then it was like the 90th minute or something. I got the ball on the edge of our box, and I tried to dribble out with it. It got taken off me, got played out wide. They crossed it, and then they scored. I think maybe 2 each, and then we got beat on penalties or something. And I went and I was gutted, and the chairman came up to me. He was like, "You let it get to you, didn't you? You went and scored that worldie, and you just got too high." He's like, "See, in football, you never get too high and you never get too low. You just like sail. Like you've got to be like calm and collected all the way through." And ever since that's just something that's always stuck with me, because I just feel like we sort of say like there's always a boot in the balls around the corner. Do you know what I mean? And if you get carried away yourself, it's going to be worse.
Do you think making emotional decisions in business can be pretty detrimental?
I still think we probably do make some emotional decisions, and some work out and some don't.
A lot of the stuff that we do, especially on the buying side, because we're heavily involved in still like buying product. So it's like And some
But
things
you guys need to be on trend as well, so sometimes you
Yeah,
just need to
so
strike.
that-
Yeah?
I think you need to use data that's given to you to make a sensible decision, but I think there still needs to be a little bit of a emotion within it, otherwise we probably wouldn't enjoy it as
even
much.
use this year as an example. Like we'd actually said to the product and development team at the start of this year, we literally don't really. We think the stuff that we've been selling for the previous year. Let's not make that. Let's go and bring it some fresh stuff. Because I think customers are getting bored of that. They ain't bored of that. They want that stuff before.
And that
and it's like it's only now that customers will now start seeing the website and going, oh, thank God they've got that back in stock. Oh, that's here again. Oh, brilliant, because there's been so much demand for it. So like for the first 4 months of the year, we've kind of learned, even 10 years on.
You're still learning all the time, aye.
I'm quite a plain dressed guy. So some of the stock line you've got now totally suits me. Just like the really minimal look, but just high quality. That you can I just want to go on the same website. Once I've worn it, just do the same again.
Well, that's something we're learning. Is like because we were quite, and it's probably what's helped us grow. Is like we'd have something in a couple of colours, and then we'd have something else in a couple, and then we'd bring something else in new, and we were like keeping our customer base happy by making new stuff all the time. But then we sort of started to learn that, see if you've got something like, it was a Rivero cargo, see if you've got in black and grey, and you bring it out in like olive and like sort of a tan colour, and like see if somebody really loves that cargo, they're gonna buy it in every single. That's just what a guy does. Like, see if they find something they really like. They don't move on quickly.
That's me.
Whereas we were quite quick to move on.
That's probably where me and Mark have like, well, I've got that. So like, what's next? And now I think I was always into like, I wasn't the most fashionable guy, but I always liked to get something maybe a bit different. Right. So that maybe the guys I went to school with would be like, maybe like yourself, who would go like, whereas I maybe wasn't. I was like, I want that like new T-shirt, or that guy's dressing like that, or that footballer's dressing like that. I want to wear them, and I'll wear that. But I would still wouldn't go OTT. I would still go like, well, it's still a bit different, but it's not like too loud.
And what we're learning in business is there's definitely a place for both. So you can have that sort of like core safe cut, like, and your brand's maybe not defined by that. So you can have these like things you're introducing that keeps your brand on trend, but people still buy this here. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, say for example, Nike or Adidas will bring out some mad coloured Predator to start with, and it gets everyone's attention, and then they go on the website and they buy the black one or the white one. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a sort of attention seeking as well, like with this new product, but making sure you've still got this core product that people actually wear.
Is that a marketing tactic, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a brand perception tactic as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of both. I think if you just market like an all black outfit, it just gets lost in like all the all black outfits.
If Nike just marketed white Air Force Ones every week, people would be bored of Nike. But they're their best seller.
Like black tracky, black hoodies, probably like they don't put that out there. They put like what they're obviously ambassador in a bright colour that people notice.
Was your approach to marketing quite organic then, or was it quite strategic, like early days as the business was growing?
I think we've always enjoyed kind of the organic marketing. It's like the TikTok stuff we're doing now, but then even in the early days we were doing like Twitter, it's like retweet competitions.
How can we grab people's attention?
How do you make enough like as much noise as possible? Like even tonight there's I think there's an organic competition going out. It's like we're going to pay for somebody's season ticket for next season, because it's time to renew your season ticket end of season. So tag your team, tag your mate, like we'll buy a season ticket for you.
There's not many businesses that would do it.
And it's just like a hell of a hand. If it's a Johnson fan then winning, and he's like, brilliant, I've got my season ticket.
Yeah.
But competition ends like I think it's this Friday. So it's like people maybe just hold off till Friday, maybe win get a season ticket, it'd be class.
Do you think that's part of your kind of marketing USP? Just maybe
to be relatable, I'd say. Try and be relatable with people. I think that's our marketing, I'd say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to do the same thing. It's just how you do it slightly differently, isn't it?
I really only have experience of like business to business marketing or chasing leads business to business. Starting this business where it's business to customer has been a real adjustment, and I'm actually picking your brains here because I'm trying to get as much information.
I don't think you need to reinvent the wheel. No. I think we say that all the time. Like you're not changing the game. You're just like editing it slightly. It's like if you see somebody doing something well, like then you can have your own take on that. So if you notice somebody doing something in an advert wise, it's like how can you make that your version of that?
Like even.
But guys, what if this only gets 2 views?
Doesn't
the
matter.
first time round?
Doesn't matter, do it again.
Exactly. Like at the end
I
of
think
the day,
that's why people give up too quick. Going, oh, we got 4 views. I'm just going to give up.
Yeah.
It's like, but if you keep doing that, I bet any money.
yeah, and you can keep tweaking it here and there. If you think you've got this, sometimes like say the TikTok thing, we'll put something out there and go, that is going to get loads of people. Like think we were talking about the other day. We went to America and we did the street style in the middle of Times Square.
So it was
in
at
the
the
middle
end
of
of
New
the photo
York.
shoot. We'd done that autumn winter campaign out in New York, and then the last day we had all the samples and we set up the rail, and we basically set it up in Times Square.
Right in the middle of Times Square, like mobbed.
It was basically just grabbing people on the street, and it was like shoot you in because the Americans are so like
so bold and flamboyant. We've got
and
these street performers over, so the boy's like, oh, this stuff's amazing, this is so cool. And he's doing like backflips and he's like so loud, and we're like,
I'm just like, oh, this is just
this is brilliant.
Brilliant,
like,
easy.
We're gonna get like 10 million views off this, and we just put it out, and it got like, I think it got like 500,000.
Yeah, it still got good views,
but it didn't blow up like how we thought it was.
It wasn't as much as the wee guy in the Buchanan Street in Glasgow who was calling a gilet a giblet, and that got 2.2 million views. See, like, everybody's laughing. Do you know what I mean?
Giblet.
It's like, but that's probably
honestly, he came over and he's like giblet, and we're like,
that's probably
what?
like
A what?
Scottish or British mentality. That whereas like I don't want to see the street performer. I see that whenever I want, but to see the wee guy in the street that doesn't even know what a gilet is.
He was funny, him man. To be fair.
Congratulations! I seen you celebrated 300,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh yeah, on Instagram. That was a good. It's a weird one because we are on Facebook. We had like 700,000 followers, but like it's almost like Facebook followers aren't really relevant.
Cool. It's not currency.
Yeah,
not
cool.
Yeah,
is it?
yeah. But like Instagram one, and we got to maybe like 200,000, and it was just sort of plateaued for a bit. With people were coming in and going out and coming in, and then obviously with the street style and videos, and like I say, Cairo and the guys have done a brilliant job of like sort of modernising our like Insta feed, and it's all dead aesthetic, and it's quite aspirational now. Whereas before we were quite product focused, like this is a product, buy it. This is a product. Whereas we made it quite aspirational, so it's like we're selling like a lifestyle rather than a product, and the followers have just been going through the roof recently.
Yeah,
so
there was one weekend on TikTok we had 50,000 followers in a weekend.
Right, mad,
it was nuts.
And was that because of
one
a certain
video?
We changed the tactic a little bit, so we were doing like these videos. They were out doing the videos, and they were getting great views. But it's like, and the traffic's obviously on the website, but it was like, how can we use them to sort of benefit us a little bit more in other ways? And then they obviously just said like, let's do like, do you follow it? Because we got to a point where we were doing the street style, and it was like, we don't want to be seen as giving away free product to people, because like people are paying for the product. So we were like, well, you don't get anything unless you follow us. Do you know what I mean? Or you don't get styled unless you follow us. So it's like, do you follow Be Inspired?
People are just like that now, like follow. So
don't
want to miss out on
fear
that.
of missing out.
Nervousness in case.
Well, imagine somebody approaches you and said you follow, no, and it's like, oh, I've missed out on that.
His mate's slagging him and that.
But if I see you walking up,
if
I see you walking up the street towards me, Robbo, I'd be like,
follow.
Oh man, I forgot to do that thing.
But like one of them actually followed while it was there. We did it on the slide, didn't it? And everyone was going mental.
Yeah.
Like, he did it while he was watching. He did it while he was watching. Aye. In the video, so that was good. It was good.
I'm congratulating you on your 300,000, and we've just recently celebrated our 500th follower in Motorvation Car Club, and I'm laughing here, right? But what's the difference between our journeys here? We're 1 year.
Give me an add and subtract there. That's 299,500.
No equations necessary. We're at 1 year, or we're at 9 months, 500 organic followers. So we've not paid any collabs, subscriptions, whatever. Just chipping away. Probably not posting enough, to be fair. Right? You guys, what, 10 years?
10 years.
10 and a half years.
300,000. So you guys would have been at 500 at one point.
Yeah, definitely was I. Easily.
Yeah, we probably pushed it that much in the early days. It was probably just like, it was almost like the business, like friends and family.
Yeah.
So it's like going from every platform possible, right? Everybody that we knew would have been on Facebook. It's like, how do we get them off Facebook and on at Instagram? And get them off Facebook and on at Twitter? And it was probably the same audience we were hitting until there was somebody new came into that audience, and then...
One thing I would say is, like you're saying, not post enough. I think you need to be consistent. You need to have like, well, what we're doing now, and it's really working for us, is having like an aesthetic, selling like a lifestyle, and then like being consistent with that, like, and posting like whether it's once a day or twice a day or once, like 3 times a week, but like sticking to that.
Yeah.
And then having an angle of what you're, obviously if it's the cars, and like having an angle of how you're doing it and what you're doing.
Yeah, we actually probably made a mistake because we only posted originally the cars that we thought people would be motivated to own. However, like a big swathe of the business is the 5 or 6 grand really nice prepped Vauxhall Corsas.
Yeah.
Right? The motivation part is, so long as you're doing it the right way, like I'm probably the worst salesman in the world when it comes to I've actually talked 2 people out of buying cars in the last 9 months, right?
You know my job that on camera.
That's not great for a car
Because
business.
genuinely, like, one of them,
I'd make content of that. I would start like reels on that.
This is how I talked about buying a car.
Because then you'd start getting people who watch that.
no, but one of them was a young guy, 21-year-old or whatever, and I just genuinely didn't think he could afford it. And like, I've been that guy, and I went and bought it. And looking back, I think to myself, oh, and I'm a dad now, eh?
I think that's a good way. I think that's a good way to be though, because eventually that'll come back.
So the guy's phoning me saying, "Oh, my dad's going to guarantor and whatever," and I'm thinking, you don't want to. Motivation, do it the right way. Keep the head down, keep chipping away, and then when you've got that income,
fair.
come back. But I'm hoping in 5 years
That'll come back for you.
Why at 21 do you want to spend £500 a month on a BMW M4? Right? So, again, worst salesman in the world. But the overriding thing for me is just being honest and being.
You'd rather be that guy than the guy that sold somebody something they couldn't afford, and he's like, "That guy sold me that." Do you know what I mean?
Hope he never bought some somewhere
I think
else,
we're a little bit like this when it comes to product as well, because we could go make a t-shirt really cheap, and then sell it for really but we're not offering value to anybody. So it's like we're like that as people.
Yeah.
It's like the customer's not getting anything out of that. So it's
you don't need every person out there to buy your product, do you?
I just want to be have something you're proud of, though. I don't want to be selling something I know is not good enough. Like, I know, I'm confident my product's as good as anything out there.
I think it said that about like going in clothing. It's like it actually annoys us that we're not in there, or a store like that, like a flannels or flannels. It's like what? Why is their stuff in there and ours isn't? Because I know what goes into our product and.
But Mark, you're saying you're not patient. You're definitely patient, mate.
I don't know, like,
because for me to talk somebody out of a sale, when some months, like for instance, we're not getting the sales we should be or we need. Some people will be quick to trade their kind of either integrity or their brand, just to get the sales over the line. You guys don't seem like that either.
Yeah, we're probably not. See, even working in the shop over Christmas, like maybe somebody would come in and like, "Mate, that doesn't fit you.
Yeah.
I didn't think you should get it. I genuinely didn't think you should. Yeah, but I'll just get it up, just pull it tight.
I probably wouldn't be that way. I'd
like,
probably I'd be like, "Look, this is better for you."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they'd come in and be like, even some of the young kids, it wouldn't fit them. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, that doesn't fit you, but I've got this that would.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or I'll put them into something that. At the end of the day, I want people to be feeling good about themselves. Do you know what I mean? And
I think that's one thing about our brand. It's like a big thing of like look good, feel good. I think that runs right the way through. It always has, like over the years.
On the getting the product in front of customers, you guys must be spending a considerable amount.
A wee bit.
Too much.
Too much.
Too much.
I think
I think that's like anything. It's like
unfortunately in this day and age, that's the way it has to be. Like back in the day, it's like anything, isn't it? Anything that's successful, people want to make money out of it. So back in the day, you got lots of organic traffic, and then Instagram and Facebook are like, well, we can make money off that, and then they try and make more and more and more money off it. So
you guys must have been in quite early days though, Mark, on the
the
sponsored ads and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know, remember
you were getting just more money, more reach for your money. Like than now. So straight away, that's just less like.
But is it harder now?
It goes hand in hand. I think it is harder because there's a lot more people doing it. And at the same time, if you're doing it well, it's probably still the same. If you've got like we're saying, talking about Stephen and that doing the TikTok, and that's all organic, all those views, all that reach.
It costs
we
a
don't pay
fortune
nothing
for some of
that.
those
Do you know what I mean?
Like some of the videos, like over 1 million, 2 million viewed.
There must be like at least 10 million views on that page, like of all the videos, and that would cost a fortune. But then that helps our paid marketing because like, oh, I've seen that brand on TikTok, and then it's like a paid advert comes along.
It's
oh, they're the
almost
ones that
like
do the street style. And
what the organic TikTok stuff and all those views is doing now is driving people to the stores.
yeah, I think
So
it's doing
like
it. I think it's driving people
Yeah.
to both. But like the amount of people that walk past the
It's
store
mad,
or
isn't it?
like even don't even come in, but like, oh, that's that brand I saw on TikTok. Like you hear everyone saying it.
And they think because they're walking past the store that we can't hear them, but we can hear them perfectly, even when the shop's shut.
There's not many people that come in and say, I'm in the shop because I saw your paid advert on social media. Do you know what I mean? That's something that doesn't really happen, whereas they do say, I saw that organic content.
The
that
ads
you put
on
out
social
there.
media is like almost like impulse buy, going, oh, I like that product, I like buy. And it's whereas like the people coming in the store are like, I've seen your videos on TikTok, and then I seen it on Instagram, and then I seen you doing this, and I seen you doing that, and so I'm like coming in to see what. And then they want to buy something that's got a name on it potentially, instead of maybe a
bit of merchandise
product.
from
It's
like
almost
that
like,
organic video.
oh, I'm part of the club now.
Well, I gave you guys like the shortest introduction of all the pods because if you don't know who Be Inspired is, then you've been living under a rock for.
That's good. And I guess that's what the job what we've been trying to do for the last couple of years anyway.
So the destination of the business now is you've got like famous footballers, musicians, actors, like all these type of people that are wearing your product. How does that make you feel now?
That's good. It's good.
Again, it's waiting on the boot and the balls, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really
it does
But
make you
that's what
feel
we
good,
like.
but it doesn't
Like-
make me feel any better than some kids coming in like to the shop. Like, see how at Christmas it was brilliant because like we'd opened that shop and we'd had a few like pop-ups over Christmas before, but we probably didn't work in them. But like we've opened the shop, we've made it how we wanted it. You're worried it's not going to work, and then at Christmas it was mental. Like people were coming in and spending fortune. Like it was so busy, but like everyone was buzzing, and like see the feedback you got and how much they loved the brand, or they'd been following, or they were coming in and like shouting stuff that he'd said on TikTok, or do you know what I mean? And like
mad,
just like because he said something, oh that T-shirt. Do you like stuff? Like he said to one guy he brought in the shop to launch the shop. He went out and approached a guy on the street, and his name was Bob. His name was Bobby, right? And he came in and he was mental. And he's like, what do you like? Do you like something a bit safe, or just like something a bit spicy? And then like that just took off. So people are walking past, so I go, it's spicy, mate.
There's a guy came in. He says, I need you to pick me a look. I just want something a bit spicy. You can pick whatever you want. So literally, I was like, here we go. So I just started picking stuff. He says, I'll just take it. It was about 500 quid.
Really?
Like literally, he was just wanting an outfit. And he says, I'll be back in next week because I'm terrible at picking clothes. I just picked him like an outfit, a full look, and he was
like actually seeing people like spend, like, because obviously you get people in it and you gift stuff, and people have bought stuff as well. That's great. Do you know what I mean? But like actually seeing people that have had to work hard to make that money to buy that product and be buzzing off it.
So you're getting the same enjoyment out of
I probably my worst, to be honest.
Same here. Doesn't matter if it's a expensive car. Like 17-year-old first car, buzzing.
Yeah,
you know,
and I bet you get a buzz off it.
Aston Martin, buzzing.
Yeah,
it's the same kick.
Yeah, it's the same feeling.
And it actually gives you like that little bit of adrenaline to keep going up in the morning.
Sure.
I'm only mentioning these type of names, right, because these are two guys that started out in the mezzanine level of the flat with inherently not a lot of money. No retail, no marketing, no business, no mentors, none of this stuff. And your clothes are stretching far and wide on the backs of all these really famous people. How do you get them there? Like, a business gurus always say that your network is your net worth. Is this using?
I'd probably even say, we were saying yesterday at the weekend there, like we probably don't network enough of what we should, because we are quite like reserved. The two of us are quite reserved people. Like at the end of the day, we go to work, deal with families, whatever, and then like we love playing golf. The two of us, like we've since COVID, like if we could play golf every day, we would, but unfortunately we can't.
Yeah.
So it's limited to like twice a week, maybe.
Twice a week, tops.
The weekends or whatever.
But obviously, you're saying in the early days you were getting your friends and other sports people into the brand? Like, how does that? Is it just asking favours? Is it
probably just a snowballing effect as well? Because like the brand's doing well, people want to be seeing it. So like people were buying it initially as well, and then we were gifting, and then probably the big one, obviously Messi. Like everyone asks, like, how do you get Messi in it? That just came about by Andy Robertson being at Liverpool. He'd obviously bought stuff before, and then Rob was like, can you get me tickets for Liverpool game? So he's gone. He'll tell the story, but he ended up going down.
Went down to the game and just I picked up the tickets thinking, I'll just be in like in the stand. I never even considered I was going to be in the players' lounge, where like 3-course meal, everything. So then ended up chatting to Phil Coutinho's brother. Coutinho was away to move to Barcelona 2 weeks later, so he had a fake back injury.
He faked his back injury,
so it's because it was a Champions League game, and he obviously didn't want to be cup tied. Right, okay. So got chatting to him, and he's like, oh wait, how come you're down at the game? Like, I've travelled down from Glasgow, I know Andy Robertson. So as soon as that was like almost an in, he's like, and I think people who are in that maybe football environment, he's like, well, he's in the same space as me, so it's like, he's like,
gives you a bit of legitimacy.
Yeah, probably, and like that's probably what having a football background's definitely helped us over the years.
Like a sports, definitely.
We kind of tie in ourselves to sport, which we've kind of run through the brand. So
yeah. So just utilising your contact.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Coutinho's brother was
but not in a like too pushy.
No, not at all. Kind of organic. Sort of stumbling across it and then just saying, "Geez, want stuff really?" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So he moved away to Barcelona, and I'd kept in touch with his brother, and he said it was him that said to me, "Look, if you want me to send it, give," because that's where we're not pushy. Is probably enough. It's going. Can I send you stuff?
It makes me feel so uptight.
Can I send you stuff?
I respect
pass
people.
I
still respect people that can really put themselves out there.
But they're doing it a way. I think there's a way that if you're too pushy, it puts people on the back foot.
Yeah.
Whereas like Stephen's saying, we're probably like opportunistic enough to be like there's an opportunity there, but we're not like forcing our way through the door. It's like you like people open the door for us and we happily walk through it, but we're not going to push that.
We
door
kick our heels in that.
And I'm assuming now at the size of business, it's people that are telling you, it's staff, boys, there's a potential opportunity here. You know, what type of staff levels you're operating at nowadays, and are they the ones that identifying these opportunities? Are you still at the forefront?
I'd like them tied in. I'd like them to be a bit more. I don't know if it's because me and him have been so hands-on, so like it is our baby, so like maybe controlling of like, you can't put that content, you can't put that, and that, like we are trying to step off that a little bit, because it's not all about like what we think. There is times that some people have done something like, I don't like that, but then it's done really well for us or blown up. And we would like people to be more sort of forthcoming, because I think guys in the office have got great ideas and they've got great skills to go and do.
They've got skills that we don't have, like like Photoshop editing skills, or even just creative in general. Like
just try to get the confidence out of them to actually. There's a guy, Ryan Bissett. He's like Robbo's cousin, and he's great with the videos. And he actually went and did content today. But he's always asking, like, and not in a bad way, because he doesn't want to get up, but he's asking this. And I'm like, I know he's got the confidence, just go and do that. And I know he knows what looks good. I know he knows what we like. I know he's not going to go and make a bad video. And see, before, maybe we would have been a bit more critical, I don't know. But see, if it isn't good, we just won't use it. Go and make something else. But I want him to have that confidence, and that's probably something where we're maybe lacking a little bit. Is like
that leadership skill of like a manager, basically.
Bringing more out of people is probably something that we can, like I said to you before, I'm quite forthright of what I don't like, but I maybe need to be more praising, and like I try to be like, oh, that's great, that's brilliant, well done. But just like, I wish I could give them more confidence to go and do their own thing as well. And
I think because we work on a small team as well, we maybe forget how long something takes to do.
Yeah. That's where the impatient comes in.
We've only like at the
you must have a decent sized team around you though.
Yeah, well, there's 5 full timers in the content marketing department.
Wow!
But they're managing like a hefty spec. Well, they're not obviously spending the pay.
No, but that's what I was meaning. Like, you guys
arranging
must have a lot of
things like
do.
Arranging photo shoots if we travel abroad, like. And then arranging models, but then recreating adverts if they're getting a request from the agency to say we need to change this ad, we need a different hook, needs that, and So I need variations of this and different sizes. I need this advert for YouTube, this one for TikTok, this one for... So like, before you know it, like their time... And then we're like, that new product's getting released on Thursday. Is all the images edited, content ready?
Have you done that? Yeah.
And I can imagine them going...
And I think that's where we pick up like the things they don't, like say if like, or they've not edited that, or that's the wrong name, and we pick up on that because that's just what we do. But I don't know if sometimes they get like put down about it because they've done all these excellent things, and then I've noticed the one thing that they've not done, and it's not in a bad way. It needs to be noticed. Do you know what I mean?
All employees say that to their boss, because if they're project driven, it's amazing what a fresh pair of eyes does, because sometimes you're so close to it. You can't see sometimes what's like
even
the obvious.
The product development team, like even being in the shop, and like the printed logo was like, it was literally like this far over, and I noticed that. So and straight away, like everything else is correct, like 4,000 units is correct, and I'm like,
but that's all they're hearing.
And I'm taking a photo, and I'm that logo's in the wrong position, and like Stephen always saying,
or a top came in the other day. It was a top that came in the other day, and it's perfect, but like the zips are just slightly too big, like here and here, and I'm like, oh, the zips are too big, and they're like, oh, it's too late to change that, and like everything else about it's great, and the zips are brilliant.
Like, anybody in the world would never notice it. They're fine. They're totally fine. But then me and him are like, I just wish they were like.
And the thing is that it probably wouldn't make any
smaller.
difference if we noticed these things. It's just, do you know what I mean? Like if we stepped
away,
and
do you stay quiet, Mark?
Yeah.
Do you stay quiet and not say anything?
No, because I can't.
I think that's where the
they could run that on their own, and the marketing team could do. If we weren't there, I'm confident they could do it on their own. It's just that we feel as though they maybe missed something here and there.
That's probably why the brands had longevity on, especially on product as well. Is like because we don't miss these, like we were maybe experienced a couple of years ago high returns on a pair of cargo pants, and it's like, right, check return. Why do they keep coming back? Why do they? And we basically just increased certain parts of the size, because everything we do is custom made, right from like lab.
You can feel that in the product, to be honest.
So it's not, we never ever would just go, right, there's a stock T-shirt made, let's print a label inside it and print a logo on the chest. We've never, I don't think we've ever done that.
Never.
Even if we were low on stock, we wouldn't even be forced to do that. So
we like things to fit in a certain way, but then at the same time, if things are getting returned, we need to edit that way, obviously. Do you know what I mean?
So now the business is is well established and stuff. Do you guys have clearly defined roles?
Nah, not at all.
I think you could ask anybody, we're pretty much the same person.
Like they can probably ask Rob or something. If I'm not there, they could ask him, and they'd know it's going to be the similar answer.
Yeah, similar answer. Like the guys will maybe put some images in the chat and say like, oh, what do you think of like what we'll go as like the feature banner, and like I don't need to, like I can just know he'll pick the right one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So in that vein then, what's the benefits that you've had being business partners?
We've said that on the podcast the other day. I don't think I'd like to do it on my own.
It'd be quite lonely on your own.
I'd probably need. I wouldn't have started the business without Robbo. Like
you need somebody to bounce off, because I think it would be pretty lonely just doing it on your own. Like for what you doing it for on your own? You're like, okay, you maybe get, like if people are driven by money or whatever, but like it's not as much fun to go on a photo shoot on your own with two models that you don't know and like a photographer.
A photo shoot.
It's true, very true. But even like just the small things, like back in the day, we'd go on the photo shoot and we'd have like at the end of the trip we'd have like a wee night out,
like a wee wrap party.
You know, the team would have a wee night out, and just these wee things are probably the things that stick in your head and the memories of being inspired.
When you look back, that's the things I remember, is like doing stuff like cool stuff with Rob, like sharing, like it's something to share something with as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's a cool memory, but nobody else was there to share it with. It wouldn't be such a cool memory.
Even the shop in October, first shop in Glasgow, like although it was a pop-up shop.
Was that only October? Like, was that only like 5 6 months?
Mid-October, end of
That's
October.
fast.
So then,
and now you're on your second shop in Dundee.
Yeah, the two of us at the end of the day, like we've got everything out, got the place cleaned, and the two of us sweeping the floor. This is class.
It was like starting it again. It was something like we really enjoyed. Like it's like the process of doing it. You enjoy it more than.
And I think that's where like the shops almost feel like a new brand right now. It doesn't feel like almost like Be Inspired a little bit. It feels like this isn't, because it's kind of bolted on to the organic TikTok stuff, it feels like the website's here, and this is something we're trying to like bring closer, is like the website and the paid ads are here, and the shops and the TikToks stuff, the social media stuff's here. It's like, if we can just like merge all that together, I think that's when the brand's going to go.
It feels like that excitement of creating something again. Do you know what I mean? Like we were saying about what's the difficult thing is like Be Inspired became like a business, and then like sometimes you get lost in like, right, you've got to have like an end of month meeting, and you're like, or you've got to do this, you've got to do these things. Whereas like we just like the thing that we probably started and why we did so well is because we really enjoyed creating something and like seeing something happen out of that, not the monotony of like a business behind that, if you know what I mean. And I feel as though the shops is like this excitement of creating something again, and it's like, oh, we've got another shop now and that's doing well, right, let's get another one, and like building something.
Do you know what's quite good as well with the shops is the people on the high street are keen to work with us now. Like they're like, like I put up a post on LinkedIn earlier just about like looking for ideas, like where should we go next, and the inbox just starts going like that. Because people are desperate to get like take what I think even like St Enoch Centre probably couldn't believe how much traffic we were bringing into the store from all the TikTok videos.
And you hear with the economy and stuff right now, particularly even Perth, like city centre, it's a lot of vacant premises. And you guys are, when everyone else seems to be getting out, you guys are going in.
I said it years ago about why Topshop struggled, because they didn't do nothing. The Topshop failed because on the high street was because they had the same shops for when I was 15 to when I was 30. They were exactly the same. They never done nothing. And what would they do? I think people think, oh, you just open, and this is forgetting about online business or anything like the other side. But if you've got a high street and you've got a shop and you open your doors, people aren't just going to walk in the front. You need to bring people in. You have to do something that people are going to walk. I'm going to go to that shop. It's like, because if you don't know what you expect, people just to come in and go, yeah, I'll just buy that and that just for the sake of it. It's just, money's tight. People aren't going to do that.
So do you think nowadays then the e-commerce comes before the actual stores?
I think a lot of people have, maybe one store. Yeah, I think that if you get into wholesale, like say we were talking about other brands there that are maybe in like stores, and that gives them their sort of fame. You've got to create a sort of fame, I think, and we created that with online and like having footballers in it and the TikToks, and I think we've created a sort of bit of a brand fame that if you open a store and then we've done the TikToks to get people into it, there's a reason for them to go there. Whereas like if you don't, like Stephen says, if you don't have a reason to go, if you just open a store, why somebody got like t-shirt, everyone wears a t-shirt or jeans and they're all the same. Like, so why does somebody buy one brand over another brand? And you've got to create that reason.
And you guys are,
it's like a car, like a car brand. Like, it's a car. You know what I mean? It's like, there's different engine sizes.
Everyone's
and whatever.
selling the same type of, within reason. A t-shirt's t-shirt within reason.
But like,
car's a car within reason.
Audi's marketing compared to Range Rover is different to Range Rover compared to Lamborghini. It's
like they probably like Audi position themselves as like, like the, I don't know, my mate's mechanic and he loves Audis. It's like that kind of person likes that car. Whereas like something else would be like BMW is like a flamboyant person.
It's like an extension on who you are.
For sure.
You need to be able to see yourself within that brand to like buy into it.
When I was ordering products from you guys, and one of the first things I did was actually look at you on Trustpilot, your reviews. Do you know how many reviews you've got?
14,000.
14,000. And it's like 4.5.
It's quite high, like it's high.
That is insane. Like legit customers. Like nobody wants to. Generally, the people that leave feedback, unfortunately,
are negative. Because they want
extremely negative. That's what.
But like that's a fantastic endorsement.
Something we'd always
for you guys as people. You must be setting the right culture in place.
Like it's like what I said to you before. I want something to. He's the same. Want something to be proud of. It's like I worked in sales like when I was at uni, and it was like we were selling some mobile phone policy, and I was terrible at it because I didn't believe in the product I was selling. Like if I'm going to sell something to somebody and somebody's going to give me money for it, I need to believe in what I'm selling, and that comes with the service they get when they buy it. Sometimes things go wrong. It's a piece of clothing. Can we make sure that their experience, even when it goes wrong, is a good experience, and they leave a lasting impression of like, be inspired. Yeah, I got that. It wasn't great, but I'll definitely shop there again because they fixed it.
You'll bet you see that on the Trustpilot comments. Customer service, Daryl and Gary were a great help. Thanks very much for your help. They fixed an issue. I got sent the wrong size by accident, or the label was different on the product.
Well, I looked at the 1 stars first. Obviously being a Scottish, generally negative type of guy. And I could just see the responses going, yeah, this isn't actually the business you bought it from. T-shirt doesn't do that. Yeah, this is being inspired. This isn't the business. But you're replying at least. And you can see right away you're closing that down. Last year when we started this business, like we had people phoning up just asking about product and the cars, and they're like, you've not got any reviews. And it was the most frustrating thing in the world. However, like,
you can't buy reviews, can you? Unless
not really. Well, you can. You could probably buy them, but are they going to be genuine?
Aye, exactly. By genuine.
I said when we started this, like, we would only invite reviews, so verified, so good or bad, right? We have and then today we've got a customer coming up they agreed to come up from Preston on Wednesday, and I said to them, right, this is a distance sale. I'm going to talk to you because they're part exchanging their car, and I started just going to my little salesman. I'm going to talk to you, so there's no hidden. And he went, oh, it's okay, mate, we've read all your reviews. Right? Now that is a win for me.
Totally,
of course.
You know, the guy couldn't hear I was welling up. And
I
had a lump in my throat. But I could have just, after last year, been like, I'm going to sack this. I don't have any reviews, nobody's going to buy a car.
Yeah, sure.
Not giving up. Guys like you, to me, are inspirational because you've got 14,000 reviews and they're all current, they're all relative.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so you're setting out the culture and you're keeping beating that drum.
Probably don't use the reviews enough as what we should.
No, we don't, to be fair, we don't use them as much.
I mean, just like they're there on the site and like,
I
think if people, it's like converting that guy that's maybe wouldn't.
But I know you like to be chill and you don't like to give each other a pat on the back or celebrate too many successes, but like that's massive. That type of volume. So fair play. I'm needing a little bit of advice then, right? Because obviously I'm starting a business just now. We're 1 year in. What's the type of things that you would be focusing on right now, right? If you guys were starting a business,
I think social media is the main thing to begin with. If I'm starting a business tomorrow, I'm thinking, right, how am I going to get eyeballs on? I think the only place to get eyeballs at the moment is.
You basically named the one thing I'm lacking.
Well, we always said, like, one of the things we always did say is, like, you could have the best product in the world. There's plenty of brands out there that do great product, but like, even if you've got the best product in the world, if nobody sees it, nobody's going to buy it. So you've really got to get your product out there, people see it.
Like, do you want to do our social media for us, probably?
I'm sure we probably.
Mark, you could become car famous as well.
It's almost like doubling down on your local area. I think I've noticed this from the TikTok stuff that doesn't cost any money. Is when you put out content from that area, like say Glasgow, for example, we're in Glasgow, and then straight away we've got the Google Analytics, and we actually just see the analytics going through the roof in Glasgow, and now Dundee's starting to pop up, and it's like, but off the back of Glasgow, then there was Belfast was out of nowhere. I don't know if that was because of the TikTok stuff from Belfast to Glasgow, people in and about the city, maybe seeing the videos as well, but things just start popping up and the reach starts.
I think they're doing something a bit like a lot of people, like you're saying, like behind the scenes of how you go about your day, or like how you, like, say if it's the car, like how you valet the car, or how you prep the car for somebody, like even like prepping it for somebody buying one, or like giving it out, like when they come to collect it, or behind the scenes of people are interested in what you're doing, not just like, I don't know if it's because Instagram, everything's so polished. Like I say to him, I don't believe anything on Instagram anymore. Like a picture, because it's like, it could be, people can say whatever they want, or it's got a filter on it, or it's like edited to the max. It's like, whereas if you go in behind and you're videoing something behind the scenes, like it's more difficult to fake that. I think it's more genuine, and people buy into it a little bit more. And like, I don't really watch TV anymore. I watch YouTube of like loads of different things, but it's always like how they do it. Like I'll like we say, I'll watch loads of golf of like behind the scenes of how they do this, or
the
like
golf trip we were on at the weekend. One of the guys who was on, so there was 20 lads, a lot of business guys, and we'd been invited from a marketing guy that we've become friends with over the years, and the guy that I was chatting to on Saturday night, his son runs a website and they do refurbished golf balls. So he must just go and collect them. He must just go around fishing them out around different golf courses, and he's got like a C grade, a B, an A, and a mint.
Right.
And then I was speaking to Grant, who we were with, and I says, "Oh, that is just content dream with that sort of bit." It's like, how do you define yourself different? Because there's loads of other people sell probably golf balls. But he's now started doing. He's hired bought 10 sets of clubs, and he's renting them out to Americans that are coming into Troon. Now the Open's at Troon this year, and it's like, well, those golf balls, why don't you show him cleaning them up and but filming it actually cleaning them up, repackaging them, putting them into their brands,
even going and finding them. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's
so behind the scenes,
just like how you get to that finished article.
I done a morning in the life, and I gave it to my wife to critique, and it got pinned because I'm just.
But even things like that, I think
you can't
people
worry about what people think.
Even things like that. I think if it's interesting enough for people to watch it, do you know what I mean? People will be, you're starting like this up. Somebody will be out there going, "Oh, that'd be class. I'd love to do that. How have they done that?
Yeah.
What goes into that?
I love
somebody
cars. Wants to buy that car. Somebody out there will want to buy that, but it's like, how do you get it in the eyeballs so that somebody tags somebody else and goes, by the way, there's that car you're after?
There's somebody out there looking for a khaki Range Rover with
inspired on it.
They've just not seen it yet.
Imagine you took that home with the wife tonight. What do you think she'd say?
She'd probably be buzzing, mate.
What, you were going to say be inspired on it?
Yeah, probably. I don't think she'd care, mate.
The date night car of choice.
She'd like that one. She'd like that.
Yeah, it can be demoralising as well though, because if you're just like leaning into social media and it's just not paying off. Again, is it just coming back to the patience that you guys have had?
Probably trying different things as well, but like you say, everyone starts with 500 followers. Do you know what I mean? And like 10 views on a video. It's like unless you're very lucky, you don't just get 1 million followers off the bat.
So keep going.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
for sure.
So I'm needing advice for motivation. If you were starting a business again nowadays, what are the key things you'd be focusing on?
I think we were saying like social media would be a massive thing, wouldn't it? Just finding the sort of big social media right now is TikTok, and obviously we're doing that for it, but like sort of having that sort of clear direction of what you wanted to achieve with your social media, try to have a point of difference, like what are other people in your space doing, and what are they doing well and what they're not doing well, and how can you, it doesn't even have to be exactly the same. Say I always use clothing, but say you were starting a new clothing brand and somebody was doing something brilliant but like activewear, how could you take that and use it for your sort of niche? Or like say you're doing cars and somebody else is doing something, you're like, that's brilliant how they're doing that. It could even be like a big like Audi or whatever, how they're doing that on their social media, that's brilliant. Could be any other brand doing anything, and you're like, oh, I really like the way they're doing that.
Don't be scared to
just don't be scared to like
even
copy.
If it's not working either, if you just keep if it's not working, maybe tweak it a little bit, try something else. It's like it's just like, don't be scared of like making a mistake.
Everything must have worked for you guys.
I think people worry about making a mistake, don't they?
Yeah, I think
people are scared to make mistakes. I'm guessing in everything. It's like, because they don't want somebody to say that's not right or that's wrong. It's like, well, probably with social media, there's nothing. Well, there's plenty wrong, but then there's like no really. If
something goes out and you don't like it, you can always just delete it and do another one. Do you know what I mean? We always say that. It's like, just like we were probably more precious before, but now it's a case of like, just try it, just test it. And like, we'd be like, oh, don't put that content out there. There was one from like Marbella. We did a photo shoot there, and we had it on a jacket on 2 models, but one of the models, he was huge and his arms were massive and there wasn't much stretch, so he pulled it on, but like the collar was sitting out a little bit, and he's like, I don't like that, don't put it out there. And I was like,
I'm like, I don't like that.
And I was like, just test it.
And it was just sitting, the collar was sitting out here and I couldn't not see it.
I don't like that, you don't put it out. And I was like, just test it. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, why don't we let the customer decide whether they like it or not? And it ended up being the best performing advert. And it's like, yeah, we didn't like it, but like the customer doesn't mind. Do you know what I mean? So.
And you're wanting to cut it.
And we've done a couple of things like that. We did a shorts advert last year. Me and Rob were like, I hate that. Don't do that. And then they put it out there and it performed really well. So it's like
we pay off for all these models and stuff like that. And one of the best performing ads last year was in our photo shoot studio with a graphic designer, and the bottoms are on the graphic designer.
Yeah, and we didn't like it because we knew who was in it. Do you know what I mean? We knew who was in it.
Not in a bad way. Hoggy, there's nothing wrong with Hoggy's legs.
Yeah.
It was just his legs.
He says he's got the best legs on the internet now as well, which I'm happy about.
He was pure loving it, wasn't he?
He's living the dream.
Is he want a royalty per sale there?
Yeah.
No royals.
The thing is though, you seems like you know what is working and isn't working. You're actually taking the time to go back and look at, like, that's a popular post. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of people would just keep going down our road, you know, and hitting a dead end. Whereas if you can fail maybe or at least if you're analysing the results quickly, you use adapting if things aren't quite hitting right.
I think you've got to believe in yourself as well a wee bit, do you know what I mean?
It helps for having a team as well, because then you get an opinion on everybody, especially when we're in the office.
I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I get decision fatigue. You know, like there's too many things to decide, and you're just like, I don't care. I just want to go
just
and
make
sleep.
Just make a decision. Or somebody make a decision. I've been in that situation
a lot of times.
And it must be harder for you because user design, like doing the design, user, and then converting to actually publicising it and stuff. Whereas we're not designing anything.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so yeah, decision fatigue is an absolute killer.
Should we know that?
Serious question then, right? After growing such a successful business, what drives you, right? What drives you and what keeps you motivated to get up in the morning and keep working as hard as you two guys are working?
Probably the same thing that was at football, like that competitive edge. It's like the sales still come through on our phone. Like, see, when they come through, they just come through, like, and they ping, and it's like that probably motivates me still. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I didn't switch my notification off. I've never switched 10 years. Never switched it off.
Is that dopamine? Is that?
Yeah, million percent it is.
And it's like competing with yourself year on year to be better. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're up. Sometimes you're down. But it's like you're always striving to sort of compete with yourself.
Especially from a football career, I was like scared of failing. So like I've got that mentality, like, nah, it's not going to fail, never. Do you know? And don't get me wrong, there's been failures along the way of certain things we've done in the business. Like maybe took on like a big massive unit in 2018 when there was crazy growth there. Then quickly, 2 years later, realising when we actually hired a finance director, saying, "Why are you holding so much stock? It's tying up cash. You don't need that." So it's like, holy shit, we don't need this big unit anymore. And then Brexit and COVID hit, and you're like, oh, well, we've still got this big unit. It would been quite nice if we could actually have had another warehouse in Europe, because then the shipping would be easier. But we've still got this big unit and we've got to pay the rent, so we can't do that. And it's like these wee things, but you just got to manoeuvre your way.
Failure only really happens if you stop, doesn't it?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Course.
Everything else you learn from. Like everything else is a bit of a like you say, you don't know what you know until you know it, basically, and it's like or something along those lines. But
you don't know until you know.
And it's like, and that's like, that's a failure then, isn't it? Because you've done something wrong or somebody would say that was a failure. But like, if you learn from it and use it for the next time, then you can.
I took that from my football career. I had so many injuries. If you ask somebody, probably in my circle, was like, you played like a couple hundred games as a professional footballer, and like other people look at my career as a failure, where like, but you were playing for all these teams, you kept getting injured, but like, I'm like, yeah, no mate, but I was a footballer for 17 years, that's not failing, like that is literally like,
again, it's probably like I say, it's probably like me as well.
When I chucked it, when I went, you know what, I've had enough of football now. But the only reason I chucked it was because I had been inspired just like sitting there, and I was like, well, I'm not failing at football. I was like,
and you've only got a finite time, so you've got to be a realist as well.
I get that. But see, if when I had been inspired, I reckon I'd be involved with football still. So in some way or another, if it's a manager, a coach, a scout,
agent, or
just an agent, or whatever that may have been. But that was all I knew at the time, and until I had to learn something different. And obviously, like fashions, kind of marketing, I would say, were probably.
And nothing like working in a different sector at the age of 30. Or
completely different thing.
Completely different. I don't think we saw that one coming, did we?
No, not at all.
So, what does the next chapter for Be Inspired look like?
I don't know. People ask that, but I don't really think probably that far ahead.
A lot of people put in like business plans and strategies and all this kind. We do not do that.
Yeah, which
like,
we maybe should, but
like, okay, maybe.
Oh, you're saying that as if like
maybe
all these losers to spend time doing business
but
plans.
no, like. Okay, maybe there's like, okay, for the next 6 months, this is what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
But see, people like we had a guy come in and try to help us out, and put in like a 5-year business plan. I looked at the other day.
It's not what happened, was it? No. Because COVID and Brexit came along.
So all these things come in, you have to like move and adjust and stuff like that. Whereas like, I think
like,
you
can have like an idea of what you
but
want
also
to do,
have a goal. But take one day at a time as well. It's like people get too far ahead of themselves before it's even there.
Yeah. Do you think that can just cause frustration?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Yeah. Like even with the shops just now, like we're talking like we want 4 or 5 by Christmas, but if we have 3, then like we shouldn't probably be disappointed with that because 2 years ago we had none.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's like, well, just instead of just rushing into stuff, is like make sure it's the right decision, make sure it's the right location, make sure it's got the right footfall, and it's the right price. You know what I mean? So,
like you said, I think we just want to keep going forward really and growing.
It would be nice to get back into that international market and like starting to, because I think we'd said before percentage-wise, I think we're about 80% back the UK, 20% the rest of the world. So I think what we've maybe why that's got a bit small as well, our core product, we're not backing into our winners enough. So the winners are selling out within 2 weeks and not getting them back for 10 weeks. So it's like that's something that we're learning from.
Yeah. But you guys are living proof that, well, to me anyway, like you're turning over a business that's in like millions and millions, but you're not the type of boardroom 5-year plan type of guys.
See, if we had investors, we maybe need to be. But again, it's still like it's day one just now. That's like we still feel like that.
It's not something you enjoy as well. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we were saying that we did do board meetings for a while because we had a finance director, but me and him dreaded them. Like they just weren't fun.
It
do you know
was
what I mean?
literally like a month behind. So it's like you're doing. So say for example, it's middle of May now. We're doing a board meeting for April. I'm like, April's done, man. I don't care.
I know what happened in April.
I know what happened. It was good, it was bad, whatever. Don't care. What's happening like in the next month? Because we've got like we're going to the Euros to film TikTok content, and we're going to get like millions of views on that, doing keepy up challenges in Frankfurt.
And it sometimes could alter your mood. Say if it was good or bad. Like say if it was good, but then this month was bad. It's like your perception was different. Or if it was a bad month, but this month was good, and you were down from that month. But you're up.
You need to understand that. Well, we need to do better. Or God, that was a good month, which is fine. But I don't really think there's any need for us to. For a business of our size, maybe I don't know. Maybe that's me being naive. But.
So did you say you had a financial director?
We did for a while, but he's. It was like a family sort of. It was a family member. It's my wife's uncle, basically.
Yeah.
And he worked for an investment company, and he ran a big business, and they sold it, and they exited. And he was going to retire, but we were going through that Brexit COVID time, and he said, "Look, I'll come in and help you." And was looking at sort of like how much we were spending internationally, and how much we had stock, and how much we needed to cycle through stock, and
it's quite a dark art as well when you realise like some things are like hit right in plain sight when you're chatting about having the massive facility and the stock. For that would he be pointing out from a cash flow standpoint? He was
probably very risk adverse, whereas like it maybe went too much one way.
We used to know where to lie. We used to go to Turkey to the factories. And literally they put so they wouldn't even make the full T-shirt. It would just be like the print of the design on a rectangle bit of fabric. And we were placing like, I'll take 1,000 of that, 1,000 of that, 1,000 of that, 1,000, with it off the bat, not even thinking about what it's going to cost.
T-shirt.
Walking away with like, just ordered 36,000 T-shirts there. Do you know what I mean?
Just like they'll be here in 6 weeks.
Well, he was like more risk adverse, so he probably made us overly cautious, but he put these structures in place that really helped. To the point where I think going forward now it'll be really beneficial, because like we'll not go to that 36,000, but we'll just go, well, we don't need as much, but we know what we need. We can maybe do that on core product, but then instead of doing it across the whole range. So he definitely came in and helped us streamline processes probably got us through some difficult times at COVID. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Although it was quite good for online the first year, the first 3 months was horrible time to have a business. People were just saying like stop or shut down, and we're like, are we going to have a business? And
has that been the low point?
That was like, I reckon that month at COVID was probably one of the most. Probably
the first couple of weeks, because people were like, well, what's happening here? Are we going back to work?
Have we got a job? Have we got a business?
So we were having to deal with the staff asking us the questions when we didn't know. It was probably, I'm not being funny, it was probably the same way the government were with just everybody. People asked what's happening, and they're like, well, I don't know. We'll just say, wait.
Yeah.
But thankfully, like, I know we talk about having a unit that was actually too big for us, but it actually helped us at that point, because there was like a spacing thing. So we went down to right skeleton staff, and it was like, some people came in some days, some people came in another. They stayed so far away from each other.
So we were still able to get
the orders out.
So we were working from home, and we lived 5 minutes away from each other. So then we'd be getting guys to come round and like a model, like you can, and then the photographer. So it was fine. The distance was fine. So we were doing the photo shoots in the gardens, and the weather was amazing.
Quite a positive mindset. It's coming across anyway that you've just done adapt and overcome.
There's not really anything like that you can't really adapt. Like my old man says, what else are you going to do to give up? You're not going to give up, are you? So you just...
No. Do you think you're going to give up any of the business?
It's never something we've been approached to do. Never had to think about it. So that's if that came, we'd think about it.
Okay.
It's not something like...
It would probably be something, we've always discussed, it would probably be something that would be nice to like, my missus is, like I was saying to you before, she likes to plan. She doesn't like this like roller coaster of like everything relies on the business and how it's doing, and like, oh, you've had a great Christmas, or you've had a bad Christmas, or you've had a great, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, she can't deal with like the roller coaster of emotion. She would like to know that like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? No matter what.
There can't be many people in the world that have got that anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean? Everybody that works in a job or is like, even if they've got high.
But I think there's like that. There's that like sort of.
If you're
like,
working for something, you can quite easily lose.
I know,
your job,
I know that. But like, I think people, you're employed, so that you've got a job.
They feel
it's
safe,
like it's like they feel safe rather than they know like businesses go like this all the time. Like, and it's like, what happens if somebody took the business away from you? But you could lose your job tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Like somebody could take somebody else's, but because it's somebody else's business, you feel safer within that. Do you know what I mean? So. It's I
have a guy that I know that built a business from scratch, like you guys, and it was really, really successful. And he sold a massive equity chunk to an investment, and then it just changed the business completely. And I've never seen somebody that was so passionate about something become so broken-hearted about something. And then he exited, and it was just like, I don't think he realised at the time that the funds that he was going to get were enough to not give him the remorse that he's just basically lost the business.
Yeah.
And that would always
be a difficult thing.
Yeah, it was actually quite emotional to watch. Felt really sorry for the guy. So it's not all about money sometimes, is it?
No, I think it's definitely not. But like, it's definitely not. Like you say, we were talking before, you need to be passionate. Like, it's our like baby. We were like. It would be nice to have that security as well, though. Do you know what I mean? I think
everybody in life would like that freedom, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Like a bit of freedom, you can go.
It still comes at a cost, though, doesn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah.
2-part question. When you were starting out early days, what did the success look like when you were trying to achieve it? And now you've got success. Has your definition of it changed looking back?
Yeah, probably. Like, my life's changed a lot. Like, I was like probably single when we very first started the business, and now I've got like a wife and kids. Like, that's changed my sort of focus of what like success is. Obviously, when we first started the business, we're probably like, success is like money. Do you know what I mean? And then we obviously done very well with the business, and we got nice things, but then I quickly realised that they don't really mean anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, the thing I enjoy most about my business now is that I've got a flexibility of time to do I want? Yes, I've probably got still a nicer life than I did before, but I get to spend time with my daughter. I get to pick her up and drop her off. I can be like, right, I can't, like something's come up, Robbo, I can't come in the day, is that okay? Or we can go and play golf when we want, or do you know what I mean? That's like, I love my life now, and that's probably like what I think is success.
Even like my son he's lived in Dundee all his days, but like I don't really feel like I've been although I live in Glasgow, I don't really feel like I've been apart from him. I've been with him the whole time, and it's like, because like when I'm guessing that if somebody was working a 9-to-5 job in Glasgow and then they maybe haven't worked 5-6 days a week, then I wouldn't have the flexibility to go and I've taken his football team for the last 2 years, so in Dundee, by living in Glasgow, so
coach them.
So that's
so be like, oh, I'm leaving it free to go and coach.
I'll be up the road, and then I get to Dundee, I can do anything, reply to any messages I need to do, and then I'll head back to Glasgow at night, and that was kind of my chill time, was like just drive.
It probably doesn't mean we work any less, do you know what I mean? Like, we probably still work constantly, like we never really switch off. That's something that again annoys my family a wee bit. Like, if my daughter's like, get off the phone, I'm like, she's like
that must
4.
annoy people out that
So
like are close to us. Like, I can imagine mum and dad, like, if I was sitting at home with them and I'm sitting on the phone and they know I'm like...
It's probably a trade-off every business owner's making.
It must annoy people when
I think
you're
I
in
saw
their
something
company.
that, like, it's not
Even
always
friends.
easy to go out with somebody that owns a business. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure I've seen that on social media, saying it's not... People think, oh, it'd be cool to go out with somebody that owns a business and be like... But, like, it's not an easy... Because they're always switched on to what they're doing. They very rarely switch
Short
off.
attention span.
It does give an element of guilt, though, with the children. And I suppress that guilt by just thinking, right, when they're older...
I get that guilt massively. Like, sometimes I wish I could not have social media and get, because like then I'd be like 100% present when I'm cutting about with her and that. But I do still find myself I'm like, why am I even looking at my phone? But like, it's like an addiction. We say that all the time, just to look at my phone. Of like, I hate to miss out on. See if somebody sends something in the chat and I miss out, and I hate that. I like to be the first person to see it and look at it. But that's something I don't like. Because I said to you, she's like, Daddy, don't look at your phone and that. And like that, like I hate that. I hate that feeling of her like looking at me like wanting attention.
When she gets to 12-year-old and you're sitting. And you'll be like, don't look at your phone.
But I don't want to create that. I don't really want to create that in her as well. But I know and that makes me a bit sad that I know I'm going to sort of create that in her. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose if you're a good dad, then you're going to feel that element of it's a necessary evil.
Yeah, like we couldn't do without it. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, can I maybe?
Yeah.
I try like say like when I go home for work, it's like I maybe like have dinner with her and like bath in bed, and I'll just like put my phone on like do not disturb or hide it away somewhere. Like I try that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I do try doing it.
Our youngest is 4, and we sold our house last year, and we went from like a house that we'd loved and renovated in every way, shape or form, and we don't live in a house like that at the moment, temporary, because I decided to take the family on a totally different path. But the level of guilt when our 4-year-old is saying, oh, I miss my old garden or stuff is hard to take, isn't it?
It must be tough, man.
I really appreciate you guys agreeing to come on the podcast. I think everyone listening and viewing, I'm sure is going to be inspired now by you guys. And
I think that's why
see what you did there.
That's why we're trying to do the podcast. And
I was trying to have a poignant moment there. And I'm sure they're going to be inspired in the future to see what's to come.
Yeah, there you go.
You just ruined my ending. But no, genuinely, really, really so over the moon when you guys said you would do it. And you've been so straightforward to deal with, total gentleman. And it's amazing how good energy you have with like-minded people. So I appreciate you giving up your time, and I'm sure that there's going to be 1 or 2 people out there that will take something away from tonight. And keep pushing, guys.
Cheers, thanks for having us. Thank you very much.
Cheers, buddy.